G'day there guys, it's your Aussie hubby Marky, back at it again with another episode of r/Am I the A-hole. Now with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck another prawn on the barbie, worship Steve Irwin, and just do whatever you do because I want you to have a good time listening to this episode. Our first post is by Throwaway Ra 1992, titled, Am I the A-hole for refusing to help my boyfriend with his business after he publicly declared it was just him? My boyfriend runs a small food business, has done for the last few years. I have my own job, but since he's begun cooking professionally, I have always been involved. From helping with menus, doing his finances and packing orders for delivery, etc. I have always felt like it was partly mine. I have always assumed he saw it the same way, as it's never been, hey, can you help me with this? But rather, you need to do this for me today. Although I have put some of my own money into this business, I never expected to be an equal partner, but as I spend around 20 hours a week doing work for him, some credit would be nice. Up until recently, he would usually say we in most social media posts, and I assumed that was the both of us. It is really all the credit that I needed. The other day, he made an Instagram business post which was partly about how difficult it is to operate right now, and paraphrasing, said it was particularly difficult for him as he was doing this totally by himself. As usual, I proofread his post. I was pretty hurt to see the line about not having any help, and I did bring it up. He said that it was better for the business if it looked like it was all him. A few hours later, he asked me to package up some orders for shipping. I retorted that he should do it himself if it's better for business. I was partly joking, but he was furious in his reaction, and I've now told him I won't do anything for him. He's now trying to fill in some forms, something I normally handle, and struggling. The one friend I've told thinks I should help him as it's not like I want a public declaration of my existence, and this is a stupid fight. I think that if my work isn't being rewarded with cash, some basic respect would work well too. I also think it might be worth him learning how difficult yet mind-numbingly boring some of the work I do for him is. So, am I the a-hole? Update. Jesus, there are a lot of comments. I've read through most and here is where I currently stand. I have no intention in completely stopping doing work for him, or breaking up with him, or reporting him to the police for financial abuse as one DM helpfully suggested. But I do want him to gain at least some understanding of what I do. Over the last few years, I've always done the majority of the BOH stuff, as it's similar to my main gig, and relatively easy for me, but this role has clearly snowballed into a part-time GM job, and it's time I set some boundaries. Tomorrow I'll have a chat with him, and if I've not been made redundant from my actual job, discuss me maybe teaching him to do what I do, and transitioning back into more of a helper role. Tonight, he can suffer doing some emails. Not the a-hole. You contribute to the business, you deserve credit or wages. If he's not going to do either, let him see how hard it is without you. 20 hours a week is a part-time job on top of your main job. It's not fair to you to be unacknowledged for him to use you as free labor. I think it's good for him to actually do the work OP has been doing for him, so he fully appreciates how much goes into it. People like that usually dismiss what others do as unimportant and nothing compared to what they do. Unfortunately, he is going to have to realize everything that OP has been doing for him and then show them some respect and appreciation for what they do. Frankly, I'd think a couple struggling together would look better for the business. The poor bloke is going to realize 20 hours on top of everything else he's doing is going to be nightmarish, and it'll be easier to do the right thing than to pretend he isn't being backed up massively by OP. My guess is his business isn't viable if he has to compensate her for the time she works, and her original funding, or has to do it himself. His entitled attitude, that jumped to rage when OP refused, hints at some serious underlying stress between the three, him, OP, and the business. Everyone sucks here. Yes, he was a douche because saying me and my partner who also works a full-time job in his message is equally as positive a message for his business. And his custom shouldn't be based on sympathy and charity. It should be based on a great service or product. I digress. A lot of the responses here are declaring that you spite him to make a point. I agree with this approach if it is a regular old douchey colleague or acquaintance. But this is your partner, and it requires a lot more respect and consideration from each of you to be heard and learn from each other. Don't risk things going sour, food pun, over making a point that could be more healthily made in other ways. As my partner always says to me, use your words. Good luck. You're the a-hole. He's using the phrasing of him being on his own because it's a more moving story than the two of you. He even explained this to you, and you said in the past he has always used we and us phrasing. You're being selfish and wanting some recognition when he's trying to ensure his business survives any way possible, including marketing it as a one-man show on the outs. It's a single Instagram post. Edit. This is perfect. There's a guy who created a business with the help of his partner, and the only thing that people care about is how much credit she gets during a single Instagram post during a pandemic. Posted by user Label Me Introvert. Titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my 9-month pregnant girlfriend we are not getting rid of our 4-month-old puppy just because she's getting overwhelmed? For starters, she's 39 weeks. She's literally about to pop. She also got the dog without consulting me. It was literally a spur-of-the-moment thing with her, and not one time did I tramp about it, or trip. He's the loveliest golden lab mix with green eyes. I will say he's a handful, and although our apartment is spacious, it's only but so big. I feel like he sleeps most of the time, but when he's in play mode, he can be a bit much. I pretty much chalk it down to the lack of special attention. Obviously she's pregnant, so the urge to take him out and walk him on a consistent basis while I'm at work is rather non-existent. I'm not saying she doesn't at all, but I feel like a properly trained dog is going to behave and adhere to house rules. I take him out at least twice a day, and to the park at least twice a week, though I'm well aware that he should be at the park more. Secondly, I just feel like she's missing the principle. She took on the responsibility, and now she's overwhelmed, quote-unquote. She even laughed when her sister-in-law suggested we put him on the side of the road at her sister's Mother's Day dinner. Not to mention she rushed into finalizing to move into our current apartment, which she low-key hates. She's a serial offender when it comes to this type of stuff. Furthermore, I feel like I compromise with literally everything. Whenever her 4 nieces and nephews want to come over, I might tramp about it, but I give in. I give in to whatever she wants to eat, whatever she wants to drink. When we order food, I pay all the bills and utilities. I pay whenever she needs her hair done, etc. She literally has 0 responsibilities. She hardly cooks or cleans, and I get it she's pregnant. I just feel as though she can be a really selfish person at times, but this time she's gone too far. I've invested financially and emotionally into the dog, and we haven't even had him a full month. She gave me an ultimatum, which is me or the dog, and I responded no, it's me and Cujo or nothing. She also named him Cujo. I could be wrong in this entire situation, but I'm not budging. Not the a-hole. You're right. A dog is a lifetime commitment, and it's lifelong commitment for them obviously. Why are so many people confused by this? And you both took on that commitment when you got him. Don't make him suffer and lose his family. Animals are living creatures with feelings and attachments just like people, and they get severely affected by abandonment. Your girlfriend is so wrong and being so selfish, especially when she's the one who got him without thinking about it and without consulting you. So many people have pets, including young pets, when they start families, and they do just fine. You guys will be fine too. He's just being a puppy at this point because he's so young. He'll grow out of that stage with time. And like you said, with proper training, he can become very well behaved. You sound like you're providing him with good care and a loving home. With you, anyway. He's lucky to have such a dedicated and loving dad like you. This is why I think that everyone sucks here. The dog will be home with her all day, and she's going to be busy with a newborn. If she's not making the effort now to interact with the puppy, she definitely won't after the baby comes, and he won't be around enough to make up for that. That's not fair to the puppy. As the puppy gets older without training, the more effort and patience it will take to train him. Let's face it, she's not going to do it, and they should find the puppy a home now, rather than wait till it gets bigger and untrained and harder to find someone to take him. How does the husband suck here? That he thinks he can force her to be a good dog owner, therefore putting the puppy through her negligence every day rather than finding the puppy a good home right now. Maybe if she didn't go out and get a dog without consulting him, and maybe if she wasn't now a crappy person for treating a dog like a disposable object, I'd agree with you. But she did both, so I don't. These comments are ridiculous. Dude, everyone sucks here. She's 39 weeks pregnant with your first child. If she's voicing to you she can't handle the dog, believe her. A newborn is no fudging joke. She's not going to be able to handle that and an untrained puppy. Yeah, she sucks. She doesn't do anything else. She's entitled, blah blah blah. But she's a human being, and she can potentially have PPD and SNAP. You don't want that. The dog is 4 months old, not 4 years old. All these people saying you don't give up a dog are right, but literally, you have had this dog for a month. A ton of people will be happy to take a golden lab puppy off your hands, do the right thing and rehome it. You might be able to recoup some of your costs, and the dog will be happier too. They haven't even had it for a month. She does virtually nothing and can't handle a damn puppy that she bought without consulting him. How the hell is she going to handle a newborn if she can't handle a puppy? Posted by Cancer Friend, titled, "Am I the a-hole for being irritated that my friend calls herself a cancer survivor? I'm female, early 30s. My friend is Bethany, is female, mid-30s, and I've known her for years. Recently, Bethany had a basal cell carcinoma removed from her face. Basal cell carcinoma are the most common type of skin cancer, especially for people who have spent a lot of time in the sun. They can be disfiguring if they're left untreated, but they don't metastasize like other cancers, so they don't really pose a huge risk to your life or health. I've known a couple of other people who have had BCCs, but after initially panicking at hearing the word cancer, they tend to get it removed without much fanfare. Bethany, on the other hand, has been posting on social media about living with cancer, the fear of receiving the diagnosis, surviving cancer, and self-identifying as a survivor. She hasn't been specifying what kind of cancer she had, either, so many people are understandably worried. I also know some people who have, or have had, real capital C cancer, the type where you do chemo and write letters to your loved ones in case you don't make it. So I found Bethany's post pretty tasteless. With BCCs, you can get them removed in 10 minutes at the doctor's, usually using topical anesthesia that numbs the area. The day before Bethany was going in for this, she mass texted our friend group and said she was scared for her surgery. I privately thought she was overstating the procedure a little by calling it that, but I rushed to reassure her. I validated that it was scary, but that she would be okay, and mentioned something about how I was scared the year prior when I'd had a tumor removed from my abdomen. For context, it was not a malignant tumor, but it was causing problems where it was, which is why they took it out. I had to go into the surgical center and stay there half the day, get prepped, go under general anesthesia, care for the incision site wound for the next few weeks, the whole shebang. Bethany responded to me referencing that experience by saying, "That doesn't count, it wasn't cancer." I didn't want to make a thing of it when she was dealing with her own worries, but that comment really rubbed me the wrong way. I feel like I may be taking it too personally though. I haven't said anything to Bethany, and I'm not going to, but I've been nursing this intense irritation over the whole situation. Am I a huge jerk for privately policing my friend's language around a medical event that is genuinely frightening to her, especially since it's really the first big health scare of her still youthful life? Am I being too snotty about essentially gatekeeping cancer? Is it petty of me to think of her social media posts as attention-seeking, or to think that they trivialize other people's battles with cancer, given that she does, medically speaking, have a type of cancer? I can't really check my thoughts on this without anyone IRL, so I'd really like a check either way. Is this a reasonable thing to privately grumble to myself over, or am I the a-hole? Edit, I'm kind of surprised by how heavily the comments are leaning towards not the a-hole, and it's making me think that maybe I wrote this post to be too one-sided. I wanted to add a comment I wrote in one of the replies for more context. I think I may even be understating my irritation in this post. With some of her social media posts that I've felt misrepresented the gravity of the situation, I felt something closer to, I guess, rage? That's still too strong a word, but it's sometimes closer to the rage neighborhood than the irritation neighborhood. It seems like a huge overreaction on my part, and it really did get to the point where, when she would bring up her cancer, it was like a big numb screen would slide over my emotions, like I was fatigued of hearing about it, and I'd just feel annoyed. It got to the point where I would instantly assume bad faith on her part when she'd mention it, assuming she was trying to milk it. Like something inside of me would just go, "Oh boy, here we go." And this is someone I love and care about. It's a bit scary to feel that way, to be honest, and even though I haven't said anything, and I've tried really hard not to let my irritation show in facial expressions, etc., the fact that I feel this way at all makes me think that I may be the a-hole here. You're the a-hole. We gatekeeping cancer now? Yeah, that's a fair perspective, and it's something I've been worrying about. Re my reaction, it seems kind of petty to feel this way when my friend truly is scared and does medically have a cancer diagnosis. I totally get where you're coming from, and it would probably get under my skin also, but she does actually have a form of cancer, and that can be really scary. I'm impressed with how receptive you are to other opinions. I wish more people were like you. To be fair, her friend completely disregarded OP's own scary surgery experience to remove a tumor. You're the a-hole. You have no right to gatekeep cancer, and if being a cancer survivor rewards any kind of social capital in the form of sympathy, the issue shouldn't be that she doesn't deserve it, but that said class shouldn't receive extra capital. Not the a-hole. As someone whose mother has fought 4 real types of cancer, screw your friend. I second this. Screw your friend. As someone who has MS, serious and potentially disabling, I rarely post about it on social media unless it's MS Awareness Day, once a year, and I want to increase awareness for others. People who post about their minor health issues on social media piss me off. I will third this. That doesn't count, it wasn't cancer. This is awful, also. I'd trade my non-cancer, along with 12+ surgeries and 2 decades of pain, for basal cell carcinoma any day and twice on Sunday. Agreed, I'd trade my hip disease for BCC any frickin' day. After 2 hip surgeries at 17 and facing a 3rd at 19, living with chronic pain and arthritis, it would be a blessing. Update. Am I the a-hole for being irritated that my friend calls herself a cancer survivor? An update to my previous post. I never ended up talking to Bethany about her behavior, and I also made sure not to vent about the situation to anyone IRL, since that would have just created unnecessary drama. That said, posting here really helped me so much in dealing with Bethany and giving myself permission to just turn off my brain when she brought up cancer. However, about 3 months after my last post, Bethany's sister, who's all in the same social circles as Bethany, also got diagnosed with BCC. She had the same procedure done, but was much more transparent and honest about the whole process, including what the doctor told her about BCC not having many risks. After that, Bethany, thank God, stopped posting about being a cancer survivor and mostly stopped mentioning her own BCC altogether, with just a vague mention every few months. The timing was really merciful for me, because a friend of mine who has cancer has been going into and out of remission pretty much her whole life, and who knows for a fact her cancer is going to be the thing that kills her someday. Went out of remission around that time, and I think I may have lost my cool with Bethany if she'd still been framing herself as a survivor during that time. Thanks again, everyone. Edit to clarify, I'm not glad that my other friend, Bethany's sister, got BCC. It was a source of stress and discomfort for her, and I was sorry to see her go through that. I was just relieved that Bethany stopped talking about her own experience in the way that she was previously. Man, my dad had that same cancer, in his finger weirdly, and he was calm about it and acted like it wasn't a big deal at all, because it wasn't. Though he did tell us that when we complain, he's going to be like, well, I have cancer, so... And he was just joking, and hasn't even done that. I can't stand people who make a big deal out of nothing, but I'm glad she finally stopped. Posted by user RubyRose12345678, titled, Am I the a-hole for demanding something my great-grandmother promised I'd have from a distant relative, even when it's in her will that it goes to me? When my great-grandmother moved a couple years ago, a bunch of my mum's cousins, my second cousins, helped her, and took a bunch of stuff without asking my great-grandma about it. My mother, grandmother, and I couldn't help in the move, because my mum was in the hospital for months straight. She's so much better now. My great-grandma will be 96 this year. Ever since I was a little kid, my great-grandma has told me that I would be getting a necklace from her. It was my grandma's first ever diamond that my great-grandpa gave her. They lived a happy marriage, and the thing was quite well taken care of for it being around 70 years old. She put it in a box and planned on giving it to me either when I turned 21 or for my wedding, or when she passed, it would go to me. She even addressed the box to me to make sure I'd get it. Well, when she moved and my second cousins helped, this necklace disappeared. The oldest of the cousins took it, and at first, she had thought she put it in her closet with her other jewelry. Now after 2 to 3 years, it's still gone. A couple weeks ago, the oldest second cousin posts a photo of the box with the necklace in it, with what my grandma wrote on it too, and says she was cleaning and found a family heirloom. My great-grandma has a really fancy writing, and it's sometimes hard to read, but you can easily see my name is spelled on it. I want to ask for this necklace, as my great-grandma had intended for it to go down to the firstborn female in my family. My grandma would have gotten it, but she has passed and wouldn't want it. My mum would prefer I'd have it. Great-grandma had a son and a daughter, my grandmother, and planned to give it to my grandmother. I want to ask for this necklace when it's supposed to go to me, as I want to wear it for special events like my great-grandmother wants me to, especially since I'm getting married soon. Am I the a-hole for demanding a necklace that was promised to me? Not the a-hole. Sounds like someone stole it. If it's in her will, it belongs to you. Well, if she's dead anyway. No, she is still very much alive, but she would have given it to me as I turned 21 a few months ago, but it had went missing. She didn't know if she would be alive long enough for me to get when I turned 21, or if I got married earlier. She would have given it to me before the wedding. She's currently 96, almost 97 in May. So why can't you get Grandma to address this for you? I doubt anyone is going to kick up a fuss if Grandma takes control of the situation. Because she has no way to contact her. Only my mother and I contact her, and has no way to contact her about it, nor would she remember. Plus, second cousin constantly changes numbers, so I couldn't ask about it either without having trouble. With your mother, call the cousin who has it and explain the situation. Why are you scared to ask for it when it's yours anyway? Because my mother said she may use the excuse that I should have helped my great-grandma move if I wanted it so bad. Only really close family knows my mother was in the hospital. And she's very hard to contact. She constantly changes numbers, so what number me or my mother have are both ones she's stopped using. Plus, I'm only 21 and she's at least twice my age, so may try to pull a Karen. Technically, she was the first daughter my grandmother's brother had, but it was supposed to go to my grandma and then to my grandma's oldest daughter. My aunt, but she passed as an infant, so my mother got it. Call the police. She stole something which isn't hers. Good advice. I think we can see why she changes numbers so often. Probably stealing from everyone. Tell her you want your necklace. Not the a-hole. It was planned to go to you, your name is clear on it, and it was property of your great-grandmother's and she wanted you to have it. Ask for it, and if it's in her will, enforce it when you need to. Update. Am I the a-hole for demanding something that was promised to me by my great-grandma from a distant relative? With the advice you gave me here, I had commented on her post and personally notified my second cousin that I was supposed to get the necklace, not her. At first, she made claim that she had no idea what I was talking about, which was kinda true, as the necklace going to me was the only told to me by my side of the family anyways, as it was supposed to go to my grandmother, but she passed, and my mother didn't want it, so it would go to me. She then made an excuse that I should have helped my great-grandmother move in order for me to get it, when I couldn't. My mother was in hospital, and I was only 15, 16, 17 years old. It's been some time, so I don't remember how old I was. I'm now 21. It started to show she wasn't planning on giving it back, but I decided one day when I was hanging out with my great-grandmother, I called cousin and great-grandma talked to her. I think it made my cousin feel bad, as great-grandma made it very clear I was to have it. Cousin had tried to make a deal with me. She was willing to give it back if I was to promise when her daughter, 12, would be able to have it when she got married in the future. I said no, as I plan to give it to my children when they're older. She did send it back, and it's currently in my possession and kept where no one can take it but me. Thank you so much for the advice you guys gave me, and now I have the at least 70-year-old necklace back, and I'm super excited to wear it on my wedding day in a couple of months. Edit, I do plan on getting it appraised by someone I know very well, like you guys suggested. Edit 2. Had it appraised. Surprisingly, it was the real thing. And since it's a European cut diamond, it's worth more than a normal diamond's in production. But I don't ever plan on selling it, as I plan to give it to my children. Am I the a-hole for evicting an old woman over a cat? Hey AITA, I'm a pretty successful landlord in my area. I've been renting out properties for about 20 years, and it's let me purchase a pretty nice home and pay for private school tuition for my kids. However, every once in a while, I get some real problem tenants. Anyways, here's the story. My properties have an unconditional no pets rule. I don't care to take care of the messes or damage that results from having pets. More importantly, many of the tenants bring in pets that are illegal. My city has a pit bull ban and of course bans on exotic pets. And I find that it's just simpler to ban all pets than to let people weasel out with bullcrap like, oh, it's a Great Dane Labrador mix and she's the sweetest thing. I also don't allow cats because I'm allergic. Enter Mary. Obviously not a real name. Mary is an 86-year-old woman who lives in one of my properties. Shortly after she moved in, I went over to check on her property, make sure she was moved in well and everything. She now had a cat. Obviously this was in violation of the contract, so I told her that she had to get rid of it. I figured that this was said and done. I'd come back and the cat would be gone, and it was a young cat, so I didn't imagine there would be any separation anxiety or anything. Anyways, a few weeks ago I went back to the apartment and noticed the cat was still there. This frustrated me. It's my property, I made the rules clear, and here still was the cat. I told her that she was being evicted and formally served her later that day. A few days after I served her, the COVID crisis really began in earnest. My lawyer assured me that I would be legally clear, having started proceedings before the crisis, but my poker buddies tell me I'm a dick for kicking her out. She doesn't have much family or anything, but the way I see it, I was just enforcing my rules. So, am I the a-hole? Thanks to whoever decided to harass me through the Reddit gold. If you are actively trying to make this elderly woman move during a pandemic, you're the a-hole. In fact, you're one of the worst a-holes in recent history. Not to mention that eviction after one notice is way harsh. You should, as a landlord, have a system in place to fine a tenant for breaking a rule prior to eviction proceedings. You're a total a-hole. For eviction, tenants generally only need a 30-day notice. How many notices do you think OP should give then? At least more than a verbal notice. One written warning and a final written notice seem closer to reasonable than one verbal notice and then eviction. Also, to evict during a pandemic? Aren't renters protected from that right now? Edit, I overlooked where he said he started the process pre-pandemic. But damn, rethink priorities. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. Holy crap. This is why no one likes landlords. Imagine being this much of an a-hole to an old woman in a pandemic. You're not living in the property, you're actually going to kill her if you make her homeless in a pandemic that is specifically dangerous to older folk. You'll have blood on your hands. You're the a-hole. I get enforcing a rule, but I guess having a shred of humanity might have made this a different situation. Good for you that you won't have any legal recourse, because obviously that's more important than being decent. Congratulations. Everyone sucks here. She signed knowing the rules, you gave her a chance to get rid of it. She chose not to. Being old doesn't make you immune to the rules. It does put you at risk for COVID though. I would give her one more chance to get rid of it to avoid eviction, if at all legally permissible. Charge her a fee, let her stay on the sole condition that the cat goes. He already tried that though, told her the cat had to go. Next time he was there, the cat was still there. Not the a-hole. This goes against my every instinct since I love cats, and I don't like imagining a defenseless old lady being homeless, but if you were to care about every tenant who can't pay their rent, or don't follow the rules, and who wouldn't have where to go, you'd end up broke in no time. It sucks for you. You are the bad guy in everybody's story. I'm surprised this is the first time you're asking yourself these questions. Well, since this situation touched you, you could go the extra mile and offer her assistance in finding a more suitable place to live. I don't know, I do think that he's the a-hole in this situation. It's a very clear-cut case. The pandemic is out here to get them. Why? Why put them on the street? I know that they've screwed up, but come on. This can be an exception, can it not? Posted by user Druda titled, "Am I the a-hole for not sharing my medical history before being pranked?" Heyo, I'm schizophrenic, started when I was 22, and will last till I die. I'm active in schizophrenic communities, go to groups, the works, but I am fairly private about it to most people, to include friends. It's fairly common for people to think I'm eccentric. It comes with the turf, due to some of my habits. Those habits include not going to parties or other places with lots of people, suddenly deciding not to do something. I have to be protective, so as not to do or go to certain things if I think a delusion might be coming on, saying the occasional odd quip, normal schizophrenic stuff. Some friends thought it would be funny to make it seem like I might be going crazy as a group. They would individually wear something silly like a wizard hat or a dinosaur costume, the T-Rex blow-up costume, to a group event, or say something totally out of the ordinary and pretend like it was normal. Police like to track people like you. COVID is just a way to microchip you, etc. These are very real scary thoughts to me. I would ask members of the group if they had heard concerns about these conspiracies or weird garb to the other members, but they all acted like they had hung out with that particular member that day, and I hadn't been involved. I was really scared that this could have been a massive delusion morphing into a full psychosis, so I preemptively checked myself into a hospital to stop myself from potentially hurting myself or diving further into the rabbit hole, common in schizophrenic community. I was so scared my medication stopped working. No one heard from me for a few days while I was in the hospital, and when I checked out, I confided in one of them what had happened. I got a really long apology explaining what had happened, and I blew up at them. I have ignored attempts from the others trying to apologize, and have no desire to talk with them again. Am I the a-hole for not previously stating that I'm schizophrenic? Edits. People have been asking, saying to post the length of the prank. It was around 3 weeks. Edit 2. Thanks for the awards and stuff, but I really want to highlight some of the messages I've gotten. I'm at around 150 messages and counting, and am trying to respond to the ones where I can, and hopefully offer insight. Resources that I find helpful r/schizophrenia. For groups, just Google schizophrenia support groups in my area. Something will pop up, and when you actually get there, someone will have a further list. And here's the rest of the information on screen. You can pause if you'd like, but it's really good. I'm going to continue with the episode though. Not the a-hole. Even if you didn't disclose your medical history, they knew enough that saying those things would screw with you. If a prank doesn't leave both parties laughing, it isn't a prank. It's bullying. A prank is leaving plastic flamingos on a friend's lawn or something harmless like that. That wasn't a prank. When it comes to pranks, confuse, don't abuse. One of my friends would prank the other by putting a bunch of sporks in her yard when they knew she wasn't home. It was hilarious. She included candy canes for Christmas, flamingos during summer, and eggs during Easter. It went on for a year before my friend came clean and admitted that she was the sporker. That's a good one, I like that. Not the a-hole. Schizophrenia or not, this wasn't a harmless prank. This was disrespectful and manipulative bullcrap that good friends don't pull on each other. This is the part that really upsets me too. For OP, this prank meant questioning his sanity, thinking that he was expecting early warning signs, his meds weren't working, and he went into the hospital for help. For those without a diagnosis, they would have questioned their sanity, thought they were experiencing psychosis, and potentially ended up on medications or in hospital, questioning their reality and seeking help. There is no humor in this, regardless of a person's history. This to me is pure abuse and bullying. Posted by user Novel Promise, titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter she is not receiving any inheritance when I pass away after she asked what inheritance she would be getting? Throwaway because I know my daughter uses social media, but I don't know which social media platform she uses, plus I am not going to post on my main account. I have 2 kids. a 30-year-old daughter, and a 20-year-old son. I remarried with my new wife after my old one cheated with me 2 times. My new wife is my daughter's stepmom, and my son is the bio-child of my daughter's stepmom. Me and my wife have been married for 25 years. My daughter was just 5 years old when we split. Me and my wife have a great relationship. No one cheated, we both checked each other's phones and computers, as no one ever needed to hide anything. Me and my wife had a great deal of trust. So I plan to give all the property to my wife when I pass away. My daughter, however, asked today morning what inheritance she's getting, as I'm getting pretty old. I told her none. My daughter yelled at me and then asked me what her brother is getting. I told her he's not getting anything and that my wife is getting all the inheritance. At this point, my daughter started screaming at me, saying she would love the house me and my wife lived in, and said if I gave it all to my wife, she won't be getting anything. I told her not my fault that she might not get anything because she treated my wife garbage, even all the way to adulthood. My daughter told me I was a piece of crap father and I was a garbage person. So am I the a-hole? Everyone sucks here. It's pretty normal to leave your property to your spouse, but they then leave it to the children when they die. But setting it up so she gets nothing in order to punish her for not loving your new wife is vindictive, and it's going to cause long-term resentment and division in your family. I submit that the resentment train has already left the station. Are you saying that he's required to leave the daughter money no matter what? Even if not legally required, if he doesn't, assuming the daughter and wife didn't get on famously, that would make him an a-hole. I feel like I'm one of the few folks who don't expect crap from my parents when they pass. I'm in that boat. It's their money, not mine. My dad is twice divorced, both with very expensive alimony orders, and has a new girlfriend he has spent a ton on. Doesn't bother me, not my money. And if he somehow dies with money left over, I would actually be surprised if he gave it to me. I guess I would say I don't think one is an a-hole for not leaving money to their kids by default. Everyone sucks here. You can do whatever you want with your money. That doesn't mean that with that freedom doesn't come responsibilities or consequences. I have a hard time conceiving why you wouldn't want to let your daughter and son have at least some of the money to make their lives a little more financially secure and comfortable. Your children should come before your wife, particularly since you both apparently seem to be of an age where you are set for life. She sucks for asking about her inheritance. It's not a very classy thing to ask, and she's acting entitled to the money which she really isn't. I'm refraining from judging her on her actions towards your new wife because I don't have the full history, and I don't know if it could have been justified. Either way, it sounds vindictive, and that makes you in the wrong here as well. A lot of people are saying not the a-hole are very "it's your money," but it being legally and possible to cut her out doesn't make him not an a-hole. I agree here, they all suck. Just because OP can legally be spiteful to his daughter doesn't make him not the a-hole for doing it. This sub skews young, so they tend to see it in black and white, so they default to, well, legally, when that has nothing to do with whether or not you're an a-hole for doing something. Plenty of things are legal, but would make you an a-hole to do them. Everyone sucks here, but your daughter is behaving like a spoiled brat, but I am wondering why you would not let your biological children inherit. I believe that as a parent, you want to leave something to your children after you're gone, right? To take care of them. Feels to me like you're abandoning your own kids. I'm wondering where the daughter's behavior is coming from. Her actions seem like a reaction to something the stepmother did, but we aren't getting the whole story here. Well, yeah, I think we aren't getting the whole story here. I think there's a lot of parts that are missing out. I feel like there is a lot of bias with the OP that's writing this one. I think I'd need more information to make a judgment, but I'm going to go with he's the a-hole for not leaving anything. What the hell, at least leave like a bike or something. Posted by user Friend's Spare Key, titled, "Am I the a-hole for taking away my friend's spare key after she went into my house without permission?" So, my best friend and I swapped keys to our houses in case of emergency. We can get into each other's houses. We've never had to use them, except for once she forgot her keys at home, and I let her in. Anyway, over the weekend, my boyfriend went to visit his mother, and I went grocery shopping, for the first time in like 4 weeks. So, the house was empty. My boyfriend and I have some BDSM stuff in the bedroom that we didn't put away because we were lazy and didn't think anyone would see since no one was coming over. Not super insane, just a pair of handcuffs and a rope. Anyways, when I get home, my friend was just in my house, sitting in the dining room. No warning, she didn't tell me. I was completely blindsided. I asked her why she was in my house, and she said that she had lost a necklace the last time she was here, and waited until I was gone as to socially distance. But then, if entering my house without permission wasn't enough, she started lecturing me on the BDSM stuff and how it's degrading, and that I shouldn't let my boyfriend do that to me. We've never really agreed on kinky sex in the past when we've talked about it, so we had agreed just not to bring it up. But also, I'm not the one having stuff done to me, my boyfriend is the sub. I of course couldn't tell her this, because I didn't want to embarrass my boyfriend. I was super ticked, and I took her key and told her not to bother contacting me unless it was to apologize for violating my privacy. She says it wasn't fair to take my key back, but I just pushed her out of the door and didn't listen because I was so mad. She's been texting me how she didn't mean it as a violation of privacy and was just getting her necklace and happened to see but was worried for me. I talked to one of my other friends about it, and she said that I should just let it go and move on, and that while I'm in the right, I'm being uptight about it. I don't think this is just a let it go and move on type of thing. Am I overreacting here? Am I the a-hole? I think, yeah, from the get-go, they're not the a-hole for thinking that it's like a huge invasion of privacy, but forgiveness has to be given in a friendship. But at the same time, those are one of the things you just don't really judge people on. That's their life, man. Come on. Not the a-hole. Very suspicious behavior, but how did she know you were gone in the first place? If she wanted to social distance, why was she waiting there when you got back? The whole thing is super weird. Glad you got your key back. I would consider changing the locks too. She was sitting at the dining room table because she was snooping, heard her friend come home, and ran to sit down like she was just waiting for her. You say snooping, I say casing. But yeah, she was definitely going through OP's crap and ran to the kitchen when she heard OP get home. Not the a-hole, change your locks to OP. She may have a copy. Not the a-hole, entering your home without warning, going in your room without permission, lecturing you about your sexual life. You are completely within your right to take away the keys and pushing her out of the door. Not to forget she broke social distancing rules. I just want to know, why does she so badly need that necklace? If she doesn't sincerely apologize, then I would consider the friendship over. Well, also not to mention it would simply take a text saying, "Hey, I think I forgot my necklace at your house, can I swing by and check?" Posted by user Wedding Drama Throw 22, titled, "Am I the a-hole for going ahead with my original wedding date, which was the same as my half-sister's? My older half-sister has always had an issue with me and my brother. She always felt that our dad treated us better than her, when in actuality, my dad was constantly putting her over everyone else because she would always throw ridiculous tantrums. She also treated me and my brother poorly and always made our dad choose between us. And 9 times out of 10, he would do as she said just to avoid the drama. Last April, my now husband and I told everyone informally to save the date, because we managed to snag a venue in October. While we were still designing our wedding invitations, my older sister sent out wedding invites for her own wedding on the exact day as ours. To this day, she claims it was all a coincidence, but I know for a fact that our dad told her my chosen date before she confirmed hers. I also know she booked her venue after we did. Moving our wedding would have meant losing our deposit, but I was furious more about her intent than the cost. So I stood firm and said I wasn't changing the date. I was sick of her constantly running our lives. This put our dad through a lot of crap, and many people were buying her story that I purposefully picked the date after she did. Since she sent out the invites first, her story seemed more believable. My dad said he'd pay for the lost deposit if I moved the wedding, which just ticked me off more, and I was definitely not changing it at that point. The one thing I compromised on was having my wedding in the afternoon, while hers was in the evening. So despite all the drama, which resulted in permanently blocking my sister from my phone, both our weddings happened on the same day. Mine went off without a hitch, and it was beautiful. but a large number of Dad's side of the family got stuck in traffic rushing to hers. They missed the actual ceremony, and my dad wasn't able to walk her down the aisle. I watched her scream at our father until he was in tears. She made our grandparents pay for half of her wedding after the fact as an apology for being late. She made my father pay the down payment for her new home as another apology. But even now, she has not let it go. She still says her wedding was ruined, and she uses it to guilt our father into trying to make it up to her. My dad's toxic relationship with her is not my concern anymore, but the amount of fallout from not compromising on my end was pretty shocking to me. Was I the a-hole? The only person who seems to be winning here is your sister. Hugely discounted wedding, a partial house. You're not an actual A here, but after years of her bad behavior, you, your dad's family are the only ones suffering. Everyone sucks here would, I guess, be the judgment. Just because you were right doesn't mean you always should. Your sister sounds like nightmare. Condolences. I've accepted at this point that she will always get more financial help than my brother and I. It doesn't bother me anymore. Everyone feels so guilty that she had to grow up in 2 very nice homes that they've raised a monster. I honestly don't care about what she does anymore, and would like to focus on my own life, which I'm very happy with. I feel sad that our dad is basically being abused, but I can't help him if he doesn't want it. The best revenge is living well. Someone like her is never going to be happy. I'm sorry you were put in such a crappy situation. Enjoy your awesome life. Not the a-hole. If you sent out the dates while finalizing your invites, why are people believing she had the date first? I'm sorry your dad's family is being abused by her, but honestly, that's not your problem. Your dad raised a little brat monster who grew up into a spoiled, entitled bridezilla. I emailed 80% of my guests with an email save the date. She had paper invites out before me, and she lied and said she had booked it first. She's a trash human being. Why are people believing she picked the date first? Because she's a professional liar. I have a screenshot showing my dad told her about my wedding date before she booked her venue. I show this to anyone who questions me. But she has everyone on her mother's side against me. Luckily, I don't care about them. She sounds toxic as hell. Definitely go no contact. She is not worth it. Did your dad apologize to you for causing this situation, or leaving your wedding for hers? Everyone left my wedding when I expected them to. There was an accident that caused them to be stuck in traffic. I have mixed feelings about our dad. I know my half-sister's mum was a really toxic person who imparted a lot of that personality to my sister, and my dad was stuck trying to make sure he could still see my sister. But he did this at the expense of my brother and myself. He has apologized for my sister's actions, but when she feels no remorse, it means nothing. Jesus. Not the a-hole. She deserved a ruined day if this is how she acts. I can't believe your family gives in to her bullying. Everyone sucks here. While I think she's clearly terrible, it seems like the main reason you didn't want to move was because of the relationship between the two of you, regardless of how much harder it made things for everyone else. Yes, it sucks that you both were trying to get married on the same day, and that she knew beforehand is beyond inexcusable, and definitely would be a reason to cut her out of your life. But by going ahead anyway, I feel like you did a huge disservice to your guests by playing her dumb game. Everyone sucks here. Her attitude and rage toward her father and family is horrible, but I can't care less about who got there first. Your father offered a solution to pay your deposit and move your date. Neither of you were willing to compromise. Your childish squabble escalated to a miserable day for everyone involved. Your family, your guests, and I'm sure the service people despised both of you. A wedding day is supposed to be joyful for everyone involved. That day was a dumpster fire, and everyone knew it was coming. Posted by user MF Cookies, titled, "Am I the a-hole for yelling at my husband for eating the wrong cookies?" This is some petty ass nonsense. I, 37 female, made some fancy cookies for a friend's birthday this past week. The amount of planning that went into these cookies was silly, to be honest. Slowly but surely, I collected the ingredients I needed through some annoying-ass grocery and Amazon orders, and miraculously, had everything I needed to make these cookies on time for my BFF's birthday. Baking them was also a hassle. I had to bake them in small batches in order to correct the dough until I got the perfect cookie. So I'm running back and forth to the kitchen for hours while also taking care of my 10-month-old son. I made extra cookies because my hubby has a sweet tooth. Hubby, 38 male, comes home from work and is super excited that I made cookies. I tell him how hard I've been working on these tricky-ass cookies, and tell him very specifically that there are 6 cookies that he must not eat that are perfect in size and shape and decoration and will be given to my BFF. I tell him this twice, because I can't stand the thought of having to deal with more cookie decorating. I even separated the off-limit cookies from the rest, so it's obvious which ones are not meant for him. He nods in acknowledgement. That evening, he's back and forth, in and out of the kitchen eating cookies, getting chocolate on the frickin' sofa as he eats them. At some point, I check on the perfect 6 gift cookies to see if the decorations have set out, and what's this? One of the 6 quarantined cookies is missing. I ask hubby why he ate one of the special cookies, and he just laughed. Oh honey, the other cookies were too big and I just wanted one last small cookie. I was only a little mad at first, but kind of shocked. I told him, I can't believe you just did that when I told you not to twice. What the hell, dude? His reaction, it's not a big deal, sweetie. Are you really gonna get upset over a cookie? There are so many cookies left. Just use one of the others, or give her 5 instead of 6. At that point, I got a little more angry. I told him that I wanted an apology and that he was being inconsiderate. He rolled his eyes at me and apologized sarcastically and muttered that he would sleep on the couch tonight because we're arguing about cookies now. He said I was being immature for arguing with him about cookies. He gives me the silent treatment for the rest of the night and slept on the chocolate-stained sofa. Now I'm fudging ticked and confused. Am I an a-hole because I made a big deal out of this stupid cookie situation? Wow. At first I was going to say you're the a-hole from the title, but after reading that you specifically asked him not to, and he did it anyway and then dismissed your concerns, knowing full well he was eating a gift, your husband is a gigantic flaming ball of a-hole. It's not petty that you're ticked. He completely disregarded your work, your efforts, and a gift for someone else. That's just wrong. Not the a-hole. It's not about the cookies, it's about the complete disregard for other people in favor of his selfish gluttony. Agreed. Also, baking is an exact science, and I can attest that it can take, like OP said, hours to perfect a recipe. Just to remake that one cookie could take just as long to figure it out, because as you add more ingredients, it becomes harder to keep track of all the measurements. So OP would likely have to go through the entire process again, not the a-hole, and the husband is a total dick. Months, in some cases. I made over 120 versions of biscuits, recreating my great-grandmother's recipe, flavor, and texture. I made 40+ versions of the waffle batter, getting it just so. Other things too. It's a love affair, and when someone craps on it, it feels terrible. Not the a-hole. Honestly, this is not that petty. Your husband specifically and intentionally disrespected your hard work, then belittled you when you got frustrated. I have a hard time reading this and not imagining that he doesn't have a long history of being a huge a-hole and a crappy partner. Yes, it's not about the cookie, it's about you asking him something specific and him not respecting you enough to comply. It's especially worse considering you had already accommodated him with his own set of cookies. Why couldn't he break one of the bigger cookies in half? It's also about how absolutely condescending and disrespectful he was to OP when she called him on his behavior after the fact. He made a power move, and then he started gaslighting her about her reaction to it, trying to make her feel like her reaction was crazy, unwarranted, it's only cookies, like nobody sane would get upset over cookies, like he was the victim here. I forgive a lot of things. I am not a person who demands perfection at all times for my loved ones, but if anybody treated me like OP's husband treated her in this post, I would cut them out of my life. I spent my first 22 years being treated like my feelings don't matter, and I won't voluntarily spend any more time with people like that. I feel so bad for OP being married to this dude. OP, you need to make him understand why what he did was cruel. Couples counseling if you have to. Well, Marky believes that what was said is said. I don't have an opinion outside of this. This is absolutely the way to go. Like, that was a dick move. You don't do that to someone and then get up them when you're the one in the wrong. That's just incredibly dickish, and that's the wrong way to go about this. Happy wife, happy life. Don't smack her down when she's proud of her creation. Anyway guys, I'm gonna hand you off to outro markers now. Am I the a-hole for immediately disowning my 14-year-old daughter after I found out she wasn't mine? So I will keep this as short as possible, because I don't want it to blow up and risk people figuring out my identity, and I'm just looking for genuine advice and judgment from a few comments, and not more. So I found out my 14-year-old daughter's isn't my biological daughter, but my wife's app's daughter. And to be honest, I always suspected this, and it wasn't out of nowhere, as I had my doubts prior to this. But never have I treated her differently compared to my biological children because of this. Never. So I immediately filed for divorce and decided to contemplate hard and deep about the role I want in my whole life. I was almost leaning for joint custody, where I got to see her once a week or something along those lines, and decided I will be paying child support. Until she and my ex came to house last month to discuss, and she said that she loves me so much, but I need to understand that I shouldn't expect to mean more to her than her biological father. So I lost it, and was so furious and told them both to get the hell out, and good luck getting a dime from her broke dad. I feel really crappy about it, and I know I was a jerk for that, but this is not what I'm asking. Will I be the jerk if I decided that I don't want to be a part of the child's life, and I don't live in the US, so no laws that require me to pay or anything? Sorry for my English, I'm not a native speaker. Edit 1, I think I made a huge mistake by not including this in the original post, but I'm worried she wants a relationship with me simply for the child support, and I will not tolerate that at all. Edit 2, okay, now in light of everything that has elapsed in the past few hours, I need to disclose a very important detail that I left out on purpose. We have agreed with my ex and daughter to meet today to finally decide on what's to come, and this was the biggest reason I uploaded this post at the time. I wanted to read every response and perspective possible before taking such a huge step. So I'm going to summarize what happened. I started by telling her that I still love her like the old days, and nothing has changed that. But my strategy to make sure my existence in her life wasn't solemnly for my money was clearly disclosing that I will financially support her on my own accord, and to the extent I prefer. My ex freaked out and tried to guilt trip, but I was having none of that, so I shut her immediately. Now here is where things started taking a turn. My daughter tells me that if that's the way that I want it, seeing her a few times a month, and being more like a close family friend than a parent, she respects my wishes and doesn't want to pressure me to raise someone who isn't his, but she can't take me completely cutting her out of my life emotionally. Now, what's to come is the part that makes me hate myself for underrating how kind and smart my daughter really is, and how vile my ex also is. I make it clear to her that if it was up to me, I would love for her to be with me always, but why I decided I can't fully be invested in her life is because I can't really stand her biological parents. And she suddenly starts sobbing and crying out of nowhere. Her mother is stunned, and I ask her what's wrong. And she tells me that her mother, before catching up and knowing that her bio dad is financially ruined, she was trying to convince her to leave me for good. And now that she hates her mother and wants nothing to do with her mother anymore, and she is ready to give up any future relationships with her bio dad if that's what I want, and I told her yes, that was my only condition. And also she explained she told me those things because she thought I didn't want her anymore and wanted to test the waters and see if I still wanted her to fully live with the family. Now, of course, my ex tried to take her and cut the conversation, and I stopped her, and now she is left while my daughter is still here. So yes, it's now more of a legal court thing more than anything else. And I don't think we're going to get an update on that, but I'm going to read out the advice. Everyone sucks here. This child is not at fault for what the adults around her have done. Agreed. OP's in a tough spot, but it's not the daughter's fault. You raised her for her entire life, and this is just news to everybody besides your cheating wife. I agree as well. The wife could have admitted her mistakes years old, but it's not the child's fault. I think he's going through the emotions now, which is understandable, but to abandon her is silly. If you have been this girl's father throughout her life and suddenly stop because you're not biologically related, then I'm sorry to say that yes, you are the a-hole. Parenting is about a lot more than biology. I understand that you were lied to, and I'm sorry about that. It is inexcusable of your ex, but your daughter should never be blamed for that. Put yourself in her shoes for a minute. She believed you were her biological dad. She loves you, and then she found out she also has another father that she has never met. She was not very tactful in the way she spoke to you about it, but again, she's 14 and in a very confusing space. If you disown her and cut her off now, it will harm her for life. She'll feel like she doesn't matter, only her genes, and it will prove to her on some level that you didn't deserve her love. Rise above that, mate. Prove them all wrong. Be the dad you've always been for her. Who knows if her biological father will even be willing to step up to that role, or if he can do it as well as you have. Please don't punish your daughter, because she is your daughter, for a mistake that was not hers. Be the big man here. Show her what a real father is. Not the a-hole. I mean, your wife lied to you and leached off of you for 14 years, then your daughter told you that you don't mean as much to her as the biological father. Why would you want to be in their life at all? The personal insults were unwarranted on your side, but it's pretty minimal to what most people would have said in your position. Okay, I don't know if I agree to that one, buddy. I think, personally, everyone sucks here, and that the father has a chance to redeem this by doing what was said in the edits. And I hope that he rekindles the relationship with the daughter, and that they live a happy life separated from those toxic people in their life. That's my hot take. Posted by user Potluck A-hole, titled, "Am I the a-hole for throwing out someone's dish at a Mother's Day potluck this morning? Each year, my neighborhood hosts a potluck for Mother's Day. It's supposed to be a fun way for mums, grandmothers, families, etc. to celebrate. Several people have a common food allergy, lactose intolerance, so we usually set aside a separate table for dishes that don't have cheese. This year, a new neighbor, Sally, came and put her dish on the cheese-free table. I asked her what the dish was, and it turns out it was something with cheese. I explained what the separate table was for and moved her dish to the main table. Sally wasn't happy I moved her dish, and after a few minutes, I noticed it was back on the table for plates without cheese, so I moved it again to the main table again. A few minutes later, I saw Sally moving her plate back to the cheeseless table again. At this point, I had enough. I threw her dish in the garbage because I didn't want someone allergic to cheese to accidentally eat it and get sick. Sally made a scene and really put a damper on the event for many of the neighbors. Some people side with me, especially the lactose intolerant people who were glad I was looking out for them. Others say I took it too far by throwing the food Sally made in the trash. I was curious about whether I was an a-hole in this situation. Oh my god, that's one way to deal with this situation. Everyone sucks here for not practicing social distancing and not being responsible. Info. Just want to make sure. You explained why you moved the dish, correct? If so, not the a-hole. How many times are you going to move it back for her to get the point? She was being ignorant and selfish. Yes, I explained it to her. She believed the lactose table was more prominent, and she wanted lots of people to try her dish. She thought it wouldn't get enough attention at the main table. I explained to her twice that we had people at the event that could get really sick if they ate the food she made. Oh yeah, not the a-hole, especially if people are going to blindly eat the food on the table, expecting it to have no cheese. Not the a-hole, that's shockingly selfish and dangerous behavior on her part. All for a prominent place? Wow. I'm feeling a little harsh today, so I'm high-fiving you for throwing it in the trash. I don't know if you guys realize how hard it is to find a response talking about the actual post. There's just thousands, hundreds of them, flaming them for doing a potluck in the pandemic. Why? Would you guys host a potluck in a pandemic? I don't feel like it's a good idea. Why do this? Posted by user, my husband's work wife, titled, "Am I the a-hole for demanding my fiancé tell his co-workers that he will not be renewing his vows with his work wife when they return to the office? My fiancé Mark works closely with the woman Megan. They both have similar responsibilities and need to work together as a team. I've never had any problems with this. They really don't interact outside of work. We've been working from home the last several weeks. I happened to be in the living room with him yesterday while his office had their weekly Zoom meeting. During that meeting, people began talking about what they wanted to do when everyone returned to the office. I could hear someone say that my fiancé and Megan must really miss each other. Several others began referring to them as work wife and work husband. Then someone suggested that my fiancé and Megan should renew their vows when everyone is back in the office. Mark just played along and joked that they would be registered at Office Depot. I left the living room in tears while he continued, oblivious to how I was feeling. I confronted him after the call and said I felt humiliated. Our wedding was supposed to be in September, but we've had to postpone it, and it's not clear when it will be safe to reschedule, and here he is talking about renewing his vows with someone from work. Mark explained that it was just a joke and not a big deal. He tried to show me some joke article his office had been passing around, and how teleworking is ruining work-wife relationships. I said the term work-wife itself is offensive and humiliating, because I'm supposed to be his wife. I demanded that at his next meeting, he needed to publicly apologize to his office and tell them that he will not be renewing his vows with Megan because he is engaged to marry someone else. I said he also needs to tell his office that they need to stop calling him and Megan work spouses. He says he can't do that because it will be embarrassing and hurt his reputation at work with his colleagues. I said, "Oh, is it hard to feel embarrassed? I would never know what that's like." He called me an a-hole. Now that I've cooled down a little, I need to figure out if I overreacted. Everyone sucks here. I think the whole work-wife thing is disrespectful and silly, but you did overreact to what was obviously a joke. He's not literally going to be renewing his vows with anyone or registering at Office Depot, and forcing him to tell everyone that they need to stop calling him and Megan work spouses is going to make a mountain out of a molehill, and give everyone the impression that you're a difficult person. Just ask him to stop joking about it. No, they were actually planning out how to do it, like where in the office to hold the ceremony and reception, etc. My fiancé was fully on board planning. Meanwhile, I have to nag him constantly to help me reschedule our actual wedding plans. In that case, not an a-hole for asking that he don't go through with it, but it would be embarrassing for him to publicly apologize and say he wouldn't go through with it in front of everyone. Maybe ask him to talk to Megan separately and tell her it's only a joke and won't be doing a ceremony. You're the a-hole, but not for the reason everyone else is saying. Why the a-hole? I demanded that his next meeting he needed to publicly apologize to his office. This is weird, overkill, and embarrassing. Also, doing this type of thing at a meeting could get your fiancé in trouble with HR or something. Don't make him do this. Why I don't think you're the a-hole for the same reason other people do. I am completely on your side that the work-wife thing is weird as hell. Common, yes, but also deeply confusing and often damaging/offensive to the actual wife/relationship. I think you were totally in bounds to put an end to this. I simply think you did it wrong. My boyfriend has a close friend who he called his work wife once. I told him that it made me feel insecure and he stopped. And that was the end of it. I don't understand why you couldn't have just told your fiancé that you don't want him calling her his work wife anymore. Why your fiancé is not an a-hole. He didn't know how much this would bother you. A lot of people do the work wife thing, which makes it seem normal. He wasn't trying to hurt you, but you reacted like he was. Marky thinks that the mantra of happy wife, happy life is usually what you want to go with in life. I know that's an unpopular opinion, maybe, but hey, why piss off your significant other if you do love them and it's not such a huge deal? I think don't do it in a public setting, do what they suggested, do it in private and say, hey, it's just a joke, let's just let this one die out. Let's not do a huge speech and get me in trouble with HR. Seems like a good way to deal with this situation. Posted by user Primary Cartoonist 9, titled, "Am I the a-hole for not breastfeeding my baby because she bites?" My daughter, 10 months old, has recently started biting during breastfeeding. When she starts to bite, I simply tell her no and put her down immediately. I only started doing this recently because my breasts kind of look like a war zone. I'm bleeding and sore because of the biting and simply cannot take it anymore. Instead, I've been pumping, but even that is extremely painful until I let my breasts heal. Instead, I've been doing a mix of pumping and formula. My husband does not like this. He was okay with me pumping and feeding our daughter until I started supplementing with formula. He believes that breast milk is the best and formula is the devil because it's not natural or something. At this age, I'm giving her milk around 4 to 5 times a day and still attempt to breastfeed once or twice a day. It reached the tipping point yesterday when he hid the formula so I'd have no choice but to breastfeed our daughter. I ask him why he's doing this, and he simply says he doesn't think I'm trying hard enough because I stopped, simply because she's biting me, and that a good mother wouldn't stop doing what's best for her child simply because she's in pain. I'm sure you guys would have a field day on this guy. Not the a-hole based on title alone, will go read your post but doubt it will change my mind. Edit, I read it. Jesus freaking Christ, not the a-hole. Is he bloody kidding? I guess not, or else you wouldn't be here. And then that last part, this is just plain awful. There's no mincing words, no other way to put it. How fudging dare he? I'm filled with righteous indignation on your behalf. A good husband wouldn't gaslight his wife into thinking that she is somehow doing her child wrong by making certain her child gets the nutrients she needs, while makes certain that her own body isn't relegated to the status of a chew toy. I don't even know you, and I'm fuming. Not the a-hole. And I'm sorry, but if my husband did this to me, hid formula to try to force me to breastfeed, doubled down by accusing me of being a bad mother if I didn't follow his command, I would tell him I'd see the formula back immediately, or I'd see him in court. Same here. I'm incredibly angry over this. My husband overheard me angry typing my response in the next room and was like, "Whoa, who pissed you off?" Lol. He can recognize when I'm mad due to how hard I'm hitting the keys. This one makes me furious. Not the a-hole. Have her bite his nipple and see how much his pain isn't a big deal. Also, you don't need a justification to discontinue breastfeeding regardless, even if you just didn't feel like it anymore. Edited to add, for what it's worth, my husband thinks hiding the formula was a scummy thing to do too. Absolutely not the a-hole, and he is gaslighting you. He's not the one having his nipples bitten off daily. He needs to close his mouth on this one and support you. There's nothing wrong with formula, and your baby is almost at the point where they can eat real food anyways. Does your husband have a history of disregarding your feelings and needs for your body? Does he help equally with the baby? P.S. You are not a bad mother for using formula. Shake my head. He's actively trying to hurt you. Well, I don't think I can read more without the same things being repeated, but I hope I didn't make you guys too mad on this one. Jesus. Posted by user Husband Fail Throwaway. Titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my wife I no longer want children? I'm not sure why I'm making this post. I already feel like I'm the a-hole here. Guess I'll start with backstory. I, 27 male, married my wife, 25 female, a little over 2 years ago. At first we lived with her parents. I would help out a lot to make up for what was obviously subsidized rent. Then 6 months later into marriage, she got accepted into university at a place 3 hours away, so we got our own place. My wife struggles with a lot of mental illness, so her just getting into university is a big accomplishment, and I support her. We would regularly argue about the amount of work she puts into the house. I work 40 hours a week, and she would be a full-time at university. At first, it was whoever had cooked didn't have to clean the kitchen. Then she stopped cleaning the kitchen after I would cook, so I now clean the kitchen even after she makes herself lunch while I'm at work. Then she stopped cooking dinner entirely, so now I also do all the dinner cooking. We would pick up after ourselves in regards to the living area. She had stopped doing that, so I now come home and pick up after her. I would handle dusting, vacuuming the living area, and she would handle the bathroom. She stopped cleaning the bathroom, and I'm sure you get the idea by now. It all came to a head in an extremely large fight 2 months ago, where I told her things need to change, as I am literally doing all the housework and working 40 hours a week to provide for us. She was apologetic and promised me that it was just because of school, and after her finals were over, things would change. She finished her finals last week. All B's, I am very proud of her. But nothing has changed. I'm not even sure what she is doing while I'm at work, but I come home every day to her not having cleaned up after herself in any way and nothing taken care of. So here is where I think I'm the a-hole. She had a pregnancy scare yesterday after she thought she had missed her period. I knew she wasn't because I was apparently keeping a more accurate track of her period than she was. But she asked me what I would want to name our hypothetical child, and I told her that honestly, I don't want to have a child with her, as I can't trust her to take care of it. Oh my god, you can't say that. She's now saying that I'm an a-hole, that I tricked her since kids were on the table when we got married. It's cruel to take that away from her. Look, I forgot that they were married. I thought that they were just boyfriend and girlfriend going by this. Jesus Christ. You are absolutely an a-hole for your insensitive and harsh delivery. You're not an a-hole for changing your mind about wanting children, or even if you just want to put it off the table for now, but you cannot expect to lash out at her like this in a patronizing way and for her not to be upset. She should be, especially considering the fact that you are aware of her mental illness. This is such a slap in the face for her, I am sure. That being said, I don't blame you for feeling differently based on having actually lived together independently now and better understanding her habits and behaviors. She isn't pulling her weight now, and likely wouldn't, especially with a child in the picture. You need to work on that together before seriously considering having a child. Everyone sucks here. Her mental health issues don't give her a pass for taking him for granted. She passed her finals, why can't she clean? Maybe OP has just snapped from carrying all the weight in this relationship. What does the wife contribute? She went from her parents taking care of her to OP. She is an adult who needs to help run her own home. If her mental health was excessive, I don't think her parents would have consented to the marriage. No, OP's wife is spoiled and needs to grow up. She's married, it's time she put the work in. Everyone sucks here. She should be doing more around the house for sure, especially after promising you it would change. But the way you phrased your response to an innocuous question about a baby name is just so out of left field and off base. It was wrong, and I worry for myself how much my comment was spite. I wasn't raised by the nicest person, and I've put a lot of effort into distancing myself from that kind of behavior. Have you actually had a real talk about why she isn't doing anything? Like an honest talk? It sounds like she's overwhelmed to me, and when she slacks, you just pick up the slack and let it fester. She may be suffering from depression or anxiety, she may be lazy, who knows? But it's a conversation you need to have in a calm and loving way, so you can both have a happy life, together or not. Don't let things fester into resentment, it never turns out well. I'm not sure what an honest talk even is anymore, but I've spoken to her about it every single time that I end up picking up more slack. I actually would leave things for days, reminding her to just do the one thing. She wouldn't do the one thing, and she'd apologize and cry, and insist the thing will be done tomorrow. But eventually, with everything, I would cave because there's not exactly a decent alternative. Clothes need to be washed, trash needs to go out, etc. She is depressed and anxious. I don't believe she's lazy though. She's managed Bs in a pretty competitive university. She says she's working on doing chores in her weekly therapy sessions, but she's been working on doing chores for over a year now, and all that's happened is it's gotten worse. Maybe I'm enabling her or something, but it's not like I have a choice. I guess, say what you will with this new advice and new information that we've been given by the OP here. That kind of sucks. I don't know what I would do in his situation, and I don't think it's on me to comment on their personal lives. I don't know the full story, but if you guys have experience with this, I'd love to know what you guys think. Posted by user Moova Music, titled, Am I the a-hole for saying this is why I married rich? So, my in-laws haven't liked me much since my significant other and I got together 2-ish years ago. First, it was because I was heavily tattooed and a loudmouth. Then it was because I don't do traditional wife things, like cook and clean for my husband and getting a helper. Honestly, their reasons have been archaic, but I got over it and made sure not to interact with them too much, but still remained respectful. When we first met, my significant other bought me an iPhone 8 Plus. His family threw a fit, because how can you be spending so much money on a woman you just met, you're wasteful, etc. They believed I was after his money, and nothing I did changed that. It continued like this with pretty much anything he got me. From a car to a lollipop, it was a problem. I feel like there's a big jump between those two, but we're gonna leave that there. Just the other day, significant other got me the iPhone XI Pro Max because I've been wanting it for a minute. I had previously ordered one, but because of COVID there was no stock for the specific color I wanted. Also, because of COVID, I was okay with not using any other device until I got the color I wanted, so I haven't been in touch with family. Well, yesterday, significant other surprised me with the phone I wanted in the exact spec. I was excited to say the least, and obviously went to show it off to anyone who knows me. He also posted it on his status with a caption, "Happy wife, happy life." Hey, that's what I said. Enter the drama. Mother-in-law calls him today asking questions about the phone. Who bought it? Who paid for it? With what money? Etc. I ignored the conversation because it wasn't for me. Then I'm lying in bed sick with a headache when significant other takes a call from her complaining about how much money he's spending on me and how it's not necessary, and why didn't I get my own phone. She then asks to speak to me, where she asks me if it doesn't embarrass me that I'm just spending such a young guy's money, and if I wanted a sugar daddy, her son wasn't the one. I then laughed it off and said, well, this is exactly why I married rich. Imagine not accepting all this stuff from your significant other because people will think you're a gold digger. I gave significant other back his phone and continued enjoying my brand new iPhone. My issue is, he chose to get me the phone. He can afford the phone, and there is really no reason for her to be involved in his finances when he's so old, 29 male. I will add though, he supports his family financially. Significant other is a little bit grumpy because he says I shouldn't have bragged like that to his mum. I'm of the view that it's none of her business and she was going to take issue with something anyway. Who is the a-hole? I don't feel like I am, but a few family members are saying I should have been more humble in my approach. Edit. My significant other and I often buy each other large, lavish gifts. We've been doing this since we first met. However, his mother just believes I'm spending his money to buy him presents, which is not true. My significant other takes care of the bills while I take care of running the household admin. This is an agreement we made and are comfortable with. His mother is well taken care of financially and has everything she needs. I don't work in the sense that I don't have a job, but I do contribute to our relationship in a significant way. I don't want to say that I'm a stay-at-home mum, but something along those lines best describes me. I also do have my own separate income that goes into our mutual savings account because it's not needed at the moment. My significant other and I both get allowances from whatever deals we get that are independent of each other. So he bought the phone with his money, not the combined finances or the money set aside for family/miscellaneous. Also, my significant other and I are married as per our cultural customs. I don't know why that's relevant, but I'm adding it because a few people mentioned it. Final edit. Guys, I promise you, there's nothing wrong with liking money or even having it. I can bet that a lot of you would also want to sit at home and not work, so I don't know why I'm being dragged for that. I'm really not offended by those who have called me a gold digger. Some of your comments have been amazing. I obviously appreciate all the not the a-holes, and maybe just a little bit the everyone sucks here, but I won't be responding to DMs though. That's just weird. I didn't say I'm a stay-at-home mum because I don't do stay-at-home mum type things. I'm more of the Real Housewife of Beverly Hills kind of homemaker. I'm also not a cam girl or SW, sex worker. Lol, I respect that profession, but I'm really lazy, as pointed out by many of you, so I wouldn't have the discipline to follow through. Significant other saw this post and realized how wrong he was thanks to all of your amazing comments, so now he's going to get me a cute cell phone covers to make up for the pain he caused. I've done a crapload to assist those affected by the current crisis in my country. I may be an airhead, but I'm definitely not selfish and have done as much as I can and will continue to do so. Also, I'm not Asian, not from America, and I didn't mean to rub my wealth in the faces of Redditors. I appreciate all of the feedback, but still not apologizing to my mother-in-law. That was a lot to read, and I don't blame you if you zoned out. Everyone sucks here. Your in-laws for caring about how their adult son spends his money, your significant other for handing you the phone when he could have just de-escalated the situation, and you for saying probably the worst possible thing you could have said in that specific situation. ETA, not directly related to your post, but it's weird to be bragging to people you know about a very expensive gift during a time in which lots of people are struggling financially. It's in pretty poor taste even if you're not intending it that way. OP says she doesn't do traditional wife stuff like cook. Then she says she runs house admin, but isn't exactly a stay-at-home mum. I'm so confused. What do you do all day, OP? She mentioned in another comment that she does contract negotiation for her partner's work, which I think is super awesome. It's contributing together in a somewhat non-traditional way. No judgment from me on the household setup if everyone's on board. I just think the bragging about expensive goods is a little gross. Everyone sucks here. Your husband and you can spend your money any which way you like, provided you're doing nothing illegal with it. Your mother-in-law should mind her own business in any event, but especially if I'm reading you right in that her son also financially supports her. He shouldn't have handed you the phone during his conversation with his mother, knowing she was going to give you crap for something she had no right to be giving crap about. You said, well, this is exactly why I married rich. Imagine not accepting all this stuff from your significant other because people will think you're a gold digger. Which, to be frank, makes no sense at all within the context of your story. Yet you seem to take a lot of pride in it, as if it was some sort of brilliant clapback. It's, at the very best, confusing. You also just kind of sound like an a-hole. I feel like maybe you know this and are okay with it, in which case, more power to you. But the family members who are saying you should be more humble, not sure why that's in single quotes, may be onto something too. Well, I don't know if I have too much of an opinion on this one. I think everything that needed to be said did get said in this one, and I think that's where I'm gonna leave it. Am I the a-hole for keeping a lost pet until the owner paid the advertised reward? This weekend, I was walking through the park and I saw a cat that looked like one I had seen on posters that were posted around the neighborhood. They said there was a reward of $500 for finding their lost cat. So I caught the cat, which was pretty easy since he was friendly, and checked the poster to see if it was him, and it was. I went home, put him in the back porch, and called the number on the poster to let them know I found their cat. They were happy that I found him and said they could come pick him up right away. I confirmed that there was a $500 reward, texted the guy a picture of the cat, and gave him my address. This is where the problem started. When he got to my house, I asked for the reward money before returning the cat. He said that there actually isn't a reward, and that he only advertised one to increase the chance that people would look for his cat. I told him that I wasn't going to give his cat back until he paid the promised reward, and that he shouldn't have posted one if he didn't want to pay one. He then got angry and threatened to call the cops if I wouldn't give him the cat. I said that he was welcome to, and that I would be happy to get things on the record in case I had to take him to the small claims court. He begrudgingly told me that he would be back later with the money. Later that night, he came by with the full $500, I gave him his cat, and that was the end of it. When I told my girlfriend about it, she thought I should have just gave him the cat back since it cost me nothing to catch him, and that everyone was having hard times right now. Some of my friends also think that the guy was probably desperate to get his pet back, and that it was kind of crappy of me to profit from a lost animal. I still think that if you post a reward, you should pay it, and that the guy probably just wanted to save $500 and get the benefit of advertising a reward without paying it. So, am I the a-hole? Everyone sucks here. It was cruel of you to hold the cat hostage, but he shouldn't have advertised the reward if he wasn't willing to pay for its return. Agreed. This probably wouldn't happen, but what if a compromise was made? Maybe not the full $500, but a bit of cash, definitely. Ah yes, the old Craigslist, this is what I bought, and I'm here, so pay me or your time was wasted kind of act. I was thinking that exact thing. Hey, nice to see you in this Target parking lot. I don't actually have the $800 we agreed to for your bike, but I do have $40 in my pocket, and a kid who has every type of cancer, and this might be his last birthday. No? Well, screw you and your children and your children's children. Everyone sucks here. He is an a-hole for lying about the reward. You are the much bigger a-hole here without a shadow of a doubt. You literally held that poor cat hostage from the owner in order to get $500? How disgustingly misguided is your moral compass? Way to try and make money off someone's misfortune. Next time, give him the cat and tell him he's a prick for lying. End of story. Yep. We all need a reminder that this is Am I the a-hole, not Am I legally entitled. Even if OP is certainly in the right for respecting a ward, holding the cat hostage is an a-hole move. Still, the cat owner is also an a-hole for offering a fake reward. Imagine if the title had been, "Am I the a-hole for not giving the reward to the person who found the cat?" Don't disagree. Most judgments say everyone sucks here because of that. The owner is a clear-cut a-hole, although some would say less than the OP. I just think no matter what, some people will defend OP because he was entitled to that cash. But once you take that step, you yourself are also crossing a moral and possible legal line. What the freak? How morally bankrupt do you have to be to hold another person's pet hostage until they give you money? Just because you happen to be the one who found a friendly cat walking on the street. You're like the definition of lawful evil. This is the most reluctant everyone sucks here I've ever given, because the cat owner was absolutely in the wrong for advertising a reward they did not intend to pay. What they did was crappy. Thankfully, you found a screwed up way to outdo them. I want to make my own post here, but I have nothing to say that you haven't said already with pinpoint accuracy. Bravo to you. To the OP, reluctant as hell everyone sucks here is the correct judgment here. The cat owner is your buddy who's always hitting you up for $5 and promising to pay you back with no intention of ever doing so. You, however, appear to have been born with a giant sucking black hole where your compassion should be. The rules of this sub forbid me from adequately expressing my opinion of you and your behavior, so we'll just leave it there. Yeah, I think I agree. I think everyone sucks here in this one. Just because you are entitled to the money, I guess we don't know where that guy is coming from. We don't know what's happening in his life. You know, he could be getting evicted from his house after all this happens. I don't know. It's just like Kanye said, having money's not everything, not having it is. So this is a really hard one. Anyway, posted by user Full Loan, titled, "Am I the a-hole for being pissed at my parents for taking us to Athens, Georgia instead of Athens, Greece? I'm 17 female, always wanted to go to Greece. I love Greece so much, to the point where I taught myself how to speak Greek, both Standard and Cypriot, and I can read ancient Greek. I've read the Iliad, Odyssey, and many other of Homer's books in ancient Greek, and I watch TV, sports, movies, and play video games in Greek. And I got online Greek friends who I do it with in Greek. I've got Greek friends in Athens, Thessaloniki, and Larnaca that I want to meet, so that's why I was so excited when my parents said they would take us on a family vacation to Athens. This would be the first time I would leave the country and go on a plane. This happened during an amazing party, but if it was during the only time we could go to Greece, I would do it. My friends understood. I made a plan of everything I wanted to see in Greece: Meteora, Olympiakos Stadium, the Acropolis, Plaka, among other things all over Athens. And if we had time, perhaps Thessaloniki, Sparta, or some other cities. I also made it a priority to go check out universities in Greece, as that's where I want to go. I showed my parents this and they were like, yeah, sure, you can do that, we don't care. Trip is in February. We fly to Atlanta. I assumed it was a layover. We land and my parents said we need to go to get the hotel and need a rental car. Weird, but whatever, wasn't paying attention. Well, we drive for an hour or so, and I fall asleep in the car, and then we get to Athens, Georgia. And my parents say, "Hey, we're here, wake up, sleepyhead." And I see a sign that says, "Welcome to Athens, Georgia." My sister starts laughing her ass off, and my dad starts giggling. I asked them if this was a joke, and they said no, we're going on a vacation to Athens, Georgia, to my dad's friend's lake house. I have never been more angry in my entire life. We were at a gas station, and I argued with my parents. They told me I was a disrespectful brat, and that I should be thankful that they're taking us on a vacation. They said they can't afford to take me to Europe, and this is the best thing they could do. I told them they're pieces of crap because I missed my friend's birthday party for this boring-ass trip in the middle of nowhere in Georgia, and this was like some screwed-up joke that everyone knew about, but me. My parents, of course, keep screaming at me that I'm a disrespectful brat, and I told them to go screw themselves, and I elbowed the car window in my rage several times, breaking it but cutting myself. I ran on a bus going to Atlanta. Parents are telling me to come back. I told them to frick off, and I called my friend who used to go to my school but goes to university in Atlanta. He picked me up, and I've been at his place with his girlfriend since school got cancelled in Missouri not soon after. My parents went from being furious to being worried, and to begging for me to come back. I told them to screw off once again. You know what? Not the a-hole. Yes, I know, ungrateful, love of Greece is a phase, overreacting like a teenage girl, blah blah, teenager stuff. But there's something especially cruel about watching someone get super excited about something and then toyotering them. I agree. This isn't a funny, my daughter wanted an iPad, haha, pics of menstrual pad taped to a regular tablet, my parents told me the new car was in the driveway, picture of tiny toy car. The toilet smoking, TikTok joke, in which the excitement and fear momentum barely had any build-up. This was a long con, actively lying, trust-shattering, simply because of how much OP loves it, joke. A lot of people are bashing her for being an overly emotional teen, but replace Greece with Disneyland and World, and a lot of people would be on OP's side. A cute and funny way to have done what they did would have been to tell her they were going to a lake house, and then once they got there say, honey, we know how much you love Greece, but we could never afford a trip there, so we got as close as possible. And then you point to the Athens, Georgia sign. That is parenting done right. Yeah, I can't believe how long they stretched this out. This wasn't a fake giving a terrible gift then bringing back the real one or whatever. This was months. Not the a-hole. As a general rule of thumb, if a joke or a prank is going to hurt someone, it's not very funny. It might have been funny if they told you right away, as in when they first told you about the trip happening at all, and you had been able to be in on the joke. But letting you and your friends plan and spend money, knowing that they were going to pull a gotcha, is pretty nasty. You did overreact, I think, but your family were the ones in the wrong here. I don't think you're being entitled. You didn't quote-unquote expect a trip to Greece until they told you and implied that they were giving you one, and then they continued to play the charade. I'm not so sure OP overreacted here. This is a level of malice and forethought that is terrifying, or of ineptitude that's mind-boggling. How would you look at those people again? Here are people who, rather than nurture and build up their daughter, rather than encourage her dreams and do what they could to support her, decided to instead crush her because it was funny. She smashed the window of the rental car. That's pretty out of line and stupid. She could have gotten seriously injured. Everything else she was justified about, but this part went over the line. As wrote in another comment, this wasn't controllable emotion, this was white-hot rage at the magnitude of the betrayal she had just suffered. Paying for a new window is a tiny fraction of what should happen to these parents. Violence is never the answer, but I find it hard to fault OP too much given what had just happened. Yeah. I don't think I can fault her for breaking the rental window. I'm pretty sure people would do worse than that, given different tempers that people do have. I'm surprised that all she did was break a window, so good on her for that. I personally think the parents suck. You can't just pull a bait and switch like that. That's disgusting. Anyway, that's Marky's hot take. Next story. Posted by user Tway342343, titled, Am I the a-hole for secretly setting up a camera beside our family fridge? Info. I live with my two parents and my older sister, 21 female. So I, 19 male, bought a box of a dozen ice cream sandwiches this past Thursday, and somehow it's gotten down to one left in the span of 4 days. Sunday, it was all gone. I was livid because I did buy it to share with my family, but I at least wanted more than one. I literally hadn't even had one, and my family decided to leave only one for me. I asked how this was possible. My mum said she ate one, my dad said he had ate one, and my sister said she only had 3. I asked what the fuck happened to the rest of the 7 sandwiches, and no one would say anything. I was 100% sure my sister was lying, and that she probably ate 10, but was too embarrassed to say it. I kept telling my sister to just tell the truth, and she accused me of calling her fat. My parents told me what's done is done, and that I just need to let it go. I asked my parents if I could catch her lying, if they would punish her. They said they would, but there was no point because I had no proof. My dad had a small security camera that fit perfectly in one of the shelves beside the fridge, So I stuck it in there, downloaded the app for the cam on my phone, and set it to motion detection. I bought another box of ice cream sandwiches and hid it in the bottom of the freezer without telling my family. Today, I had video proof of my sister sneaking in the freezer throughout the day, taking 5 fudging sandwiches from the freezer. I got my family together and asked them who ate 5 in just one day. My parents said they had 0, my sister said I had 1, but of course you're going to accuse me of having more. I whipped out the recording of the fridge and showed my parents I had video evidence of her taking 5 sandwiches from the freezer. My parents then got mad at me and said that it was creepy that I would do this without their consent, and my sister got off scot-free while also calling me a pervert. My family is now saying they are going to come up with a punishment for trying to catch the damn thief of my ice cream sandwiches. The camera literally only recorded the fridge and nothing else. I don't understand. Was what I did really that bad? Am I the a-hole? Can someone say enabler parents here? Jesus Christ. Not the a-hole. 5 in one day crosses a line of a-holery to make your rather, let's say, butthole behavior easily significantly less important. Not the a-hole. It's far easier for the parents to confront what he did rather than tackle his sister's unhealthy eating habits. I personally would buy a mini fridge freezer with a padlock if it's a serious habit that the food gets stolen, as constantly rebuying food adds up over time, so it would be a sound investment. Otherwise, OP needs to have a serious discussion with them about his sister's eating habits and how it's affecting his life. He do think he should apologize for setting up the camera without permission in their house, but he should stress it was done out of concern for his personal security, as well as their lack of willingness to take control over his sister's eating habits. I agree with all, except OP's parents said if OP could find evidence, they would punish his sister. OP technically had permission, even if it's through a loophole. It's like saying, tell the truth and we're not gonna hit you. Ah, bitch, you thought. You thought. Pulls the wooden spoon out. Get here now. Wow. What is lockdown coming to? But still not the a-hole. Your sister is lying about how much of your food she is eating, and that's unfair on you. I agree, not the a-hole. But also, good God, you're spot on. Quarantine has given this subreddit so many posts where people are at each other's throats from a serious case of cabin fever. Not the a-hole. Why on earth would he be the a-hole for being stolen from? Everyone who records someone stealing is an a-hole? What the hell? You were calm, resourceful, and handled it while your parents blew it off. They are probably embarrassed you did what they should have done. Everyone sucks here. Her for eating them all and lying. Your parents for basically encouraging you to get proof and then getting mad at you when you had proof, and for recording people with their knowledge, which is indeed creepy. How would he otherwise get proof? If he told someone he was setting it up and that person was the thief, then it would blow it. I disagree. It would result in one of 2 circumstances. 1, the person would disable the camera, which points a massive finger at OP's sister, or 2, people would stop taking an inordinate amount of ice cream sandwiches. Seems like a win-win to me. Also, if you really want to be sneaky, you could set up a decoy camera, say that you have a camera pointed at the fridge, and put the decoy in plain sight. You could catch a culprit in the act of disabling the camera and hoarding sandwiches. I like that one. Posted by user ThrowRA, titled, Am I the a-hole for laughing when my family told me bad news about my sister? So I'm a 30-year-old male and my sister is 19 female, and she's always been the golden child in my dad's eyes. My parents adopted me thinking that they wouldn't have biological children. They split when I was 10 and my father went on to have my sister. I'll give her this. She was very intelligent, basically straight A's based on my dad's bragging. Well, my dad expected her to be a doctor or something like that. Very high expectations. My dad for the past year has been paying her rent while she goes to college, even though she works. I called my dad yesterday when he let me know how disappointed he was in my sister. Turns out she's pregnant and has no immediate plans on continuing with her education. Cherry on top, the father of the baby is only 3 years younger than me. I'm not happy about my sister's situation. I do not approve of her relationship. Well, I laughed when I found out, because the pressure my father has put on her for the last 19 years, cheerleading, track, countless diets to keep her skinny, making her give up her dream of being a vet, finally made her crack. And I find it hilarious that he doesn't see he did it to her, and he thinks he has the right to say he's disappointed. My father, however, took this as me laughing at my sister, but when I explained no, I'm laughing at him, it made things so much worse. My stepmother has been texting me non-stop about how I hurt my father, how he just wanted to vent and as family I should support and respect him, and even if I didn't, it was just genuinely a dickish move to laugh. Am I the a-hole? Throw away, since I use my normal account frequently, I will be reaching out to my sister. Not the a-hole, but reach out to your sister if she needs to talk. She might be escaping your a-hole dad just to an a-hole boyfriend. Came here to say this. A lot of women who come from extremely controlling male-dominated homes end up with extremely controlling male-dominated relationships. I've seen it happen. Older men latch onto these young women and keep them pregnant and dependent on them. Maybe he's a great guy, but definitely check it out. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. While you might have been normally, it sounds like he was controlling to the extremes of your sister. He deserves this ridicule. Everyone sucks here. She's not a golden child, she has been emotionally abused her entire life. It's not a laughing matter. He specifically said he wasn't laughing about her. Laughed at the dad for causing emotional abuse, not a laughing matter. Laughing at the dad for being disappointed when he did this to her, that's not laughing at the emotional abuse. I see it as laughing at him for having the balls to be disappointed when it's his fault. The point is that nothing about the situation is really funny. It's not funny, haha, but it's dark ironic humor that elicits the dark laugh. These people don't understand the ironic humor or any form of dark humor. It's safe zones 24/7 for these people. Oh, controversial opinions, Reddit. Oh, he's coming out. I wonder how much he got downvoted for that one. Bloody hell. Everyone sucks here. Except your sister. Your dad sounds like he controlled and pressured your sister to the breaking point. You're the a-hole for laughing, but to be fair, I'd probably do the same thing. But seriously though, you should probably call your sister. And really hot take here for the negative 425. OP needs to grow up. I don't know, it's an interesting opinion there. Posted by user, Rest in C-Cups. Titled, Am I the a-hole for saying RIP when a girl in the group chat said she was getting a breast reduction? I am in a group chat with some of my classmates, including a girl with a really big badonkadonks. She never really talked about them being annoying. She posted on the group chat, I'm getting a breast reduction. I'm so excited. Say bye-bye to the twins. I said RIP and posted a picture of a gravestone. It was intended as a light-hearted joke since that's the tone of the group chat. People got upset at me and basically accused me of being insensitive and sexist, saying I'm implying that the only thing that matters is her boobs. In my opinion, it was just a silly joke and fit the tone of her message. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. She's excited about getting the reduction. How does your joke fit the tone of what she was saying? You should have just said congrats or something normal. You're the a-hole. She could be very insecure about them and it might have hit a nerve. Lord, the first thing that crossed my mind was the poor girl thinking she may die during the surgery. Never ever post RIP when someone says that they're having a medical procedure. So yes, I concur, he is the a-hole. I was going to say not an a-hole until I saw this. Good point, I didn't consider that. Not the a-hole. She made it lighthearted by saying, say bye-bye to the twins. I guess you read the room wrong, but it does honestly sound like a joke. Did she personally get mad at you, or is it just the other people who are saying that you're the a-hole? If you did upset her, apologize for being insensitive and moved on. Yeah, I was ready to call him the a-hole based on the title, but it really sounds like she set up the joke intentionally. It sounded like she's excited for this life-changing surgery, and it sounds like OP is mourning the loss of aesthetic. The joke is in poor taste. Say bye-bye to the twins, RIP. She set up the joke. The gravestone pic was too much, but not the a-hole. Not the a-hole necessarily, but still not the brightest. But that's bad on my part. I wasn't really trying to pass judgment, merely giving a point of view as to why she may be upset. Lightly, you're the a-hole, associating death with surgery, not exactly encouraging. If she's getting a reduction, they are definitely causing some kind of issue. Probably neck and back pain, restricting her life in some way, etc. Did you mean it as a joke? Yep, so just apologize and move on. It is only a joke if the person it is about finds it funny. Not the a-hole. You made a joke that didn't land. It happens. Posted by user ThrowRA1781, titled, Am I the a-hole for taking the children to see my mother on Mother's Day? So this happened in March, but my wife is still upset about it. I have 3 children with my wife, 6, 4, and 4 months. We bottle feed the youngest. Come Mother's Day, my wife is exhausted. I cooked breakfast with my youngest helping, while our 4-year-old did some artwork for her. When my wife went for a nap, I thought I'd take the children out. My eldest decided to take a nap with her mother though, so it was just the 2 youngest. We spent maybe 3 hours with my mother, and an hour traveling. When I got back, I cooked dinner, and I thought everything was okay. My wife claims I ruined her Mother's Day. I don't see how, since we didn't have plans, and she was asleep for at least an hour. She's still insisting that I'm the a-hole for taking the children out. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. I thought it was fine because we didn't have plans. Yeah man, that's the problem. Why the hell didn't you make plans for Mother's Day? Brutally honest and on point. You're the a-hole. Ever think your wife, mother to your children, would want to spend Mother's Day with her family, so had no plans? Were you expecting her to make plans for her own Mother's Day? Definitely you're the a-hole. But also ask, because if it were an option, having the day off from the unholy brood would be amazing for some mums. Still, you're the a-hole because of the not asking and doing what she wanted on her day. You're the a-hole. Honestly, didn't it occur to you that she might want to spend the day with her family? You decided to give your mother a nice Mother's Day instead of your wife. Did you even ask her what she wanted for Mother's Day? I see what you're saying, but she went to sleep. Taking a potentially crying newborn out of the house and letting her sleep might have been the best gift he could give her during the quarantine. Lack of communication did not help the situation clearly. I.e., what do you want to do today? Assuming they can do anything because of the lockdown. Or, do you care if I take the kids to my mum's while you sleep? Except she took an hour nap and he was gone for 4 hours. No. Just no. Oh, that's an oof. What do you guys think? I think, yeah, he's the a-hole for doing that. I think mainly just in the communication aspect. Happy wife, happy life. Got to keep up the communication with them. The communication's everything. I think it was just a misstep. They're probably just tired parents. He wasn't thinking. He was thinking, yo, I'm going to get the kids out of the house. She's going to have some peace and quiet. But Mother's Day was not the day to do it. And not telling her. Posted by user Headache Brewing. Aren't we all? Titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my stepdaughter she's absolutely under no circumstances allowed to switch out my cat's food for vegan food, even though she's losing weight, because the sight of normal cat food makes her sick? Sorry for the appalling title. My stepdaughter is living with my husband and I for the next year. She is an educated young professional who's saving up to buy her own home. Since she's moved in with us in the past 3 months, she's become increasingly snappy and unhappy with how her dad and I run our lives. We aren't environmentally conscious enough because we don't compost our waste. We are negligent because we leave lights on when we leave our home for security reasons. We should switch to electric cars. We are contributing to the inhumane treatment of cows by consuming dairy. The list is endless. So my cat Mango is getting to be an old-ass man, and he has lived a full life of eating whatever the hell he likes, obviously within what's safe for a cat, and he's happy that way. My stepdaughter is now insisting that she will purchase vegan cat food because seeing Mango eat meat makes her sick. Oh, come on. A cat eating meat? Brother. We feed him in the kitchen, and she will literally throw up /retch/ leave the kitchen if she sees him eat meat. She'd probably have an aneurysm if she ever visited Africa, that's for sure. She has lost a lot of weight since claiming that seeing Mango eat meat makes her sick, and we leave out dry biscuits for him to snack on, which also makes her sick. It's not like we leave a mess out, but even if she smells his food in the AM, which is gross, yeah, but the doors are open, and that's just life if you have a pet, she will heave and walk away. Her dad and I both told her if she's unhappy with it, she needs to find someplace else to live. And although we are genuinely sorry that she has lost her appetite and has lost weight, we aren't going to change Mango's lifestyle. She has yelled, cursed at us, cried, begged, etc. But we are not happy with Mango eating a vegan diet. We don't feed him cheap crap either. We feed him good quality cat food that isn't processed or full of sugar or grain. It's pretty much gourmet Gordon Ramsay worthy cat food. My mother-in-law has waded in after my stepdaughter told her we were being unfair by refusing to let Mango go on her preferred diet for him, and is accusing us of being cruel and short-sighted. She said we are letting her get sick, and that Mango won't hurt from a change in diet, but stepdaughter is hurting. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Veterinary nurse here. As explained above, cats are obligate carnivores. They absolutely need the taurine that only meat can provide. Cats can't thrive on a vegan diet. My mum is a pretty hardcore vegan and still feeds all her pets a species-appropriate diet because she is aware that that's what they need to be the healthiest they can be. Just reading this makes me sick of the girl. Poor cat if he becomes a vegan, not the a-hole. I'll be honest, it almost sounds like such a caricature of a vegan that it doesn't come across as real, but giving the benefit of the doubt, just bleh. I hate everything. Not the a-hole. Cats are obligate carnivores and they will sicken and die without meat. I love animals so much that I'll force one to starve to death so I don't have to watch it eat meat. People who feed cats a vegan diet say this kind of stuff. Not the a-hole. Pets can and have died when the irresponsible owners force their dietary beliefs on them. Cats are not made to be vegan. She's being unreasonable, plus it's your house. She shouldn't be making all these demands on you at all. Right? People who try to force a vegan diet on carnivorous animals are delusional and dangerous. And obviously, I couldn't find a response that went any other way than not the a-hole here. I think that that's a dangerous thing to force upon animals and it has been shunned by society, so good stuff. Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend to go F himself for telling me to drink my coffee in a particular way under his roof? I take a long time to drink my coffee, and as a result, sometimes it gets cold before I finish it. I don't mind cold coffee, so I drink it anyway. My boyfriend thinks this is disgusting. He doesn't like coffee anyway. He told me that he doesn't want me to drink coffee that way because it disgusts him. I told him that it's me who's drinking it. Why should he care? He insisted that it's disgusting, and if I don't want you to drink a cup of coffee around the house, then you don't. And the good old my house, my rules. He compared it to him not wanting guests to smoke in his house, or taking off shoes at the door. However, I told him that those examples are not comparable, because secondhand smoke is still harmful, and wearing dirty shoes in the house makes the floor dirty for everyone else's feet. How I drink a cup of coffee does neither. I lost my cool and told him to go F himself for being controlling. Am I the a-hole? Update, I showed in the comments, and he conveniently came up with the excuse, I am sorry you found it as a controlling act. I said that because, not being used to coffee, I can smell its odor, so I don't want the odor to spread around the house. I've told him that it's not a matter of me seeing it that way. He is being controlling, and it's unacceptable. He keeps asking me to explain why, even though I feel like I have about 1,000,000 times. I said that I've explained enough, and I'm not interested in talking until he takes responsibility. Is this real life? I swear the world is going insane a day at a time. Not the a-hole. I wish this were just fantasy, not the a-hole. It's like we're caught in a landslide, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Has he ever heard of iced coffee? Why are you living with him? I don't even live with him. We're in a long-distance relationship, and this is when I stayed with him in his parents' house over 2 weeks. He's showing you his true self. Believe him. Ding ding ding, we have a winner, nicely put. 4 red flags. Here, you dropped these. Trying to control how you drink your coffee is a huge red flag. Definitely don't give in, but it'll only get worse from here. What you can and can't eat, what you can and can't wear, who you can and can't see, etc. Not the a-hole. Narcissist's prayer. That didn't happen, and if it did, it wasn't that bad, and if it was, that's not a big deal. And if it is, it's not my fault, and if it was, I didn't mean it, and if I did, you deserved it. Red flag. I'm sorry you found it as a controlling act. Oh lord. I've been watching too much RuPaul's Drag Race. Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend to go F himself for telling me how to drink my coffee under his roof? So, someone posted my boyfriend's social media page as a comment, now deleted, in the original post. Unfortunately, my boyfriend still received some nasty messages, which was never meant to happen regardless of who was at fault. If you are the person who did this, you are the a-hole big time. Why on earth would you do that? What if I was in a dangerously abusive relationship? That could have put my life in danger. My boyfriend, even though I showed him the original post, while there were 6 comments, blamed me for this person's behavior and accused me of allowing cyberbullying. He also did not agree with any of the comments. I told him I understand why he's upset and that I am upset too, because I truly believed that it was completely anonymous, and I did all I could to remove the comment as soon as I saw it. He did not agree with any of the comments and said that I am the one who is controlling. He also said that what I did is unforgivable, as well as irresponsible and reckless. I said I needed to be alone to think about things. After I thought about everything that happened, I asked him if we could talk the next day. Despite what happened, I felt like it would be the decent thing to talk on the phone. I feel he responded pretty aggressively, saying things like, "I am ready now, don't know about tomorrow." He told me to write it down, as I preferred to have a mob go at him, to text him tomorrow to check when he's available, and that he's not at my disposal. I told him to please stop being aggressive. It's unreasonable to expect me to guess when he's available, and that the point of asking when he's available is to appreciate he may have other things to do. The next day, I sent him a voice recording because I felt that he would turn aggressive on the phone. I told him that I think that we are on different paths, and it would be best to end this relationship. Apparently, by that point he'd already decided to end the relationship, but then said later that he was willing to give me a second chance, and that his love was stronger. He said that he made grave mistakes, and that he feels sorry, but he doesn't want to be with someone who doesn't let him be himself. Okay, I hope that gives him the closure he needs. Then I had a cup of coffee. Edit, sorry if it was unclear. What I meant to say is that I broke up with him, and then I enjoyed my cup of coffee in peace. Good job, OP, I'm proud of you. My wife leaves her coffee until it's stone cold. I call her weird in a joking way, then I get the hell on with my life because her drinking coffee cold doesn't impact my life in the slightest. For real, OP's ex-boyfriend is a fudging crybaby. Yeah, like if I went out of my way to change every little thing my wife does, well, I'd be a bloody asshole. But also really unfudging happy. OP's boyfriend is gonna be fudging miserable if he fixates on crap like that. Despite all of the social media harassment, breaking up with him is the best possible outcome. It baffles me how he was unable to see that he was clearly in the wrong, but still, you can drink as much coffee as you want now. As a friend of mine likes to say, I can explain it to you, but I cannot understand it for you. I'm referring to the boyfriend in this case, not you, just so we're clear. That was what I was thinking when she said he claimed to not understand her explanations of his controlling behavior. I prefer to say you cannot force anyone to do anything, which includes being ready to see another point of view. Oh, that's deep. Seeing this post, I feel OP's ex is the typical guy who thinks he can brute force anything through his relationship, and if it doesn't work, he'll try to rope them back in. But whatever they say after facing consequences, they already showed you how they act when they feel safe. Yikes. How did someone know his social media? Was it someone you know, or were there somehow identifying details that you edited out by now? Congrats on leaving his lame ass though. Nope, I never edited out any details, no personal identifiable information. I showed him what I wrote when there were only 6 comments, and he didn't seem to have a problem with what I wrote until it got unexpected attention. $50 says he posted it himself. Oh yeah, definitely. Marky ain't saying anything, but you know where there's smoke there's fire, that's all I'm saying, sheep, that's all I'm saying. Would I be the a-hole if I took action about my husband's snoring? By Noms for All. I, 36 female, am getting both concerned and fed up with my husband's snoring. We've been married for a few years, but the consistent snoring has only started over the past 6 months or so. Before then, usually he would only snore if he was out drinking with his buddies all night. Fast forward to now, and I'm waking up about 10 times a night. I've mentioned the more frequent snoring to him a few times, but of course, since he's not experiencing it while he's awake, he just shrugs it off. He's gained a bit of weight over the past 3 years, maybe 30 to 40 pounds, and I'm wondering if that's what triggered the snoring. Of course, there's not really a good way for me to bring that up as a potential cause without seeming like a little bit of an a-hole, and I know there might be other causes. I absolutely love my husband to bits, but I am a very grumpy person when I don't get sleep. Would I be the a-hole if I insisted that he visit a doctor about his snoring, or say that we will have separate sleeping arrangements until he does so? Edit, thank you for all the kind responses and suggestions. I see I'm not the only one literally and metaphorically losing sleep over snoring. I hadn't really thought about sleep apnea being a possibility for him, but I have been concerned there is an underlying medical issue. I'll be looking more into substantial pillows and making sure there's not some allergen that could be irritating his system in our room. I'm also going to have a discussion with him and be clear that I'm coming from a place of love and concern. Since I know he doesn't love going to the clinic, I'll offer to go to the doctor with him so we can see if he needs a sleep study. We do have a spare bedroom, so if I need to escape in there periodically, I will. Not the a-hole. Do it from a place of love. He might have developed sleep apnea, which is a serious concern on its own. Even without that possibility, you wouldn't be the a-hole. You can't function without sleep, and constantly losing sleep will have all kinds of effects on your health. Thank you for the information. If he does have it, I'd certainly want to make sure he's getting treatment sooner than later. Not the a-hole. I'm going through a similar thing. My partner can't control the snoring, so we got nasal strips and neti pots to help clear out their nose and better pillows. It's actually helped immensely and was cheap enough to try all of that first before jumping to going to the doctors. Thanks for these suggestions. I'm going to do a deep cleaning in the room to be sure there aren't any potential allergens. I'm not sure if he'd be willing to use a neti pot or nasal strips, but I'll make the suggestion when I talk to him. Not the a-hole, it may be his weight if it just started. I'm a snorer and we sleep in separate rooms, partly for snoring and partly we have little kids who like to cuddle, and we don't have a giant bed so we split up. Why don't you just express how disturbing it is to you? Record him. I didn't know how bad it was until I heard it, and then suggest a sleep study. Don't mention his weight in your concern for him. Sudden snoring could actually be a real health issue, and it's something he should explore. Or you can go to the separate rooms route and sleep peacefully that way. I thought about recording him, and I may end up doing that if he's hesitant to go about seeing a doctor. I have been concerned that the somewhat sudden change in snoring could signal a more serious problem. So this reinforces the need to get him to a medical professional. I may also retreat to the guest room on a bad night in the meantime. Update. Would I be the a-hole if I took action about my husband's snoring? My previous Would I be the a-hole posting was pretty quiet, but I appreciated everyone who took the time to respond. I'm providing an update in hopes that maybe our experience will help internet strangers also dealing with this. Based on the Am I the a-hole feedback, I sat down with my husband to share my concerns about the sudden onset of his excessive snoring. I said I thought he may have developed sleep apnea, which could be serious. I encouraged him to go see a doctor, stating that I would be willing to go with him. I also said I would go to the guest room if I was unable to sleep due to the snoring. After this conversation, nothing really changed, and it made me very frustrated. There were a few times when I retreated to the guest room to try to sleep. The first time, I didn't lock the door, and he came into the room, immediately fell back asleep, and snoring right in my face. I was ticked, and made it clear that if I was in the guest room sleeping, it was because he was snoring, and he was not to come in. This pattern went on for a bit before everything blew up mid-April. I asked him if he wanted to come for a walk with me, and he said he would. Just a few minutes into the walk, he said I was walking too fast and taking it too seriously. I told him if he didn't want to walk, he should just go home. He did, and I finished my walk fuming. When I got home, I said we needed to talk. I told him first and foremost that I loved him to bits, but I was not going to sugarcoat what I needed to say. I reminded him that he used to be so active, as we used to hike and run together. Now he had gone from being a healthy weight to overweight to obese. I reminded him of the earlier conversation about sleep apnea and asked if he had looked into the causes of the condition. He said that he hadn't, and I said that while not all cases have the same cause, many times sudden snoring can be the result of weight gain or serious problems. I almost cried at this point, saying I was really worried about the long-term impact on his health if things didn't change. I ended the conversation by saying that I realized that the beginning of a pandemic is a bad time to try to get healthy. He had listened quietly the whole time before responding, or is it? He thanked me for my honesty and acknowledged that he hadn't taken any of this seriously, but that he wanted to. Although he didn't go to see a doctor, he has been working out and eating well since that conversation. Yesterday, he shared that he was down 15 pounds and his goal is to lose 20 more by the end of the summer. His snoring has pretty much stopped and we are both sleeping better. It wasn't easy to have those talks, but I'm thrilled that he took the initiative to take care of himself, and I no longer have to worry about sleeping in the spare room. What an amazing outcome. It's so fantastic to read that he is becoming healthier. Even with the lockdown and the fact that the snoring has all but stopped is amazing for him and you. I know. I really thought that not being able to go to the gym would be an excuse, but he's been on the treadmill and lifting weights at home. He's a great partner, and I'm so glad that this isn't causing conflict anymore. People don't take weight-caused sleep apnea serious enough. He could die in his sleep. I'm glad he's cutting the weight and is getting better. It absolutely destroyed my uncle. He had a small number of strokes in his 50s that his doctors attribute to severe, untreated apnea and is barely able to care for himself due to the psychological side effects. He's physically able-bodied, but he can't work, can't drive, and is difficult to hold a reasonable conversation with. It's really awful. Posted by user Spicy as a Baguette, titled, Am I the a-hole for not letting my sister see her kids? I, 28 female, obtained custody of my sister's 35 female kids, 9 male, 4 female, 2 female, back in 2018 after she let them alone for 2 weeks to go on a trip. Red drug bender. Of course, this was a huge transition for the kiddos. They had to be moved schools and daycares, and of course they couldn't see their mum anymore. Now the kids are doing better and definitely lead happier lives. Recently though, my sister was released from prison and wants to see the kids again. She called me, begging me to have a visit with them, and telling me that I could give them back because she was out of prison now. I had a talk with a 9-year-old, and he says that he doesn't want to see his mum yet, and that he still hates her for leaving him alone. The girls have no memories of her, and the smallest one was only 3 months old the last time she saw her. I do feel like I could have helped them foster a better relationship with her, but I don't want to force the oldest into meeting her when he absolutely doesn't want to. Still, my close family has told me that the oldest doesn't know what he's talking about, and it's my fault the little ones don't remember their mother because I didn't take them to see her when she was in prison. They also told me that it's my responsibility to force them to meet her, even when they don't want to, because that's what's best for them and they shouldn't grow up without their mother. So, am I the a-hole? Edit, I have spoken to a professional about this, specifically the oldest's therapist. They have advised that it should be up to him, and I just want to know if I'm being a jerk to my sister. Also, I have adopted the kids and have complete full custody of all of them. Not the a-hole. I'm not a child psychologist, but despite what your mother said, it's possible that it could actually be bad for them to see their bio mum, your sister, but you are definitely not an a-hole. Not the a-hole, I am a therapist who has worked with kids in CPS families, reunification and permanent foster placement/adoption. Please listen to the oldest's therapist and your nephew. He trusts you to keep him safe after all he has been through. If you go against his wishes, this could cause him and his sister irreparable harm. Your family is invested in maintaining a family unit, not making sure that these kids have the best care. If there is any entitlement from the mum, then she is not ready for a visit or anything. If she is truly ready to make amends, then she will wait for him to be ready, earn everyone's trust, etc. If she isn't ready to do the work or acknowledge the impact of her actions, then no dice. Please protect them, even if it means going against the rest of the family's wishes. Not the a-hole at all. Opie's job as a mother is to protect those children. Protecting their son means doing what's best for him and respecting his boundaries. Their previous mother is suffering the consequences of her actions, not OP's. Opie, you are a wonderful person. I have a toddler and an infant, and if I also had a 7-year-old, I'd likely be cray, or at least more cray. I'm so sorry that you're in this terrible position, and so inspired by you. What lucky kids those are, truly. And yes, I know I've read that post before, but I'm going over it again because there is an update. Am I the a-hole for not letting my sister see her kids? So I wasn't expecting to make an update post because I honestly wasn't expecting there to be an update to this. Unfortunately, I'm wrong. I gave my oldest 2 weeks to really think about whether he wanted to talk to my sister or not. I figured that the decision he made at first might have been out of anger, so I wanted to give him time to make such an important decision. Ultimately, he decided that he did actually want to talk to her. I have to admit I was a little bit surprised, but we set up a Zoom call between them anyway, of course with me supervising. Right before the Zoom call, he admitted to me that he wanted to talk to her, just to see if she'll say sorry. She did not say sorry. Actually, she opened with, "Hello, it's been so long. I guess you're ready to come home with me now?" And then she noticed that I was sitting there with him, and almost immediately launched into accusations about alienation and how I have to give the kids back now, or she'll call the police and say I kidnapped them. My oldest was very obviously disgusted. He asked her if she was going to apologize to him, and she actually had the audacity to ask what she had to apologize for. At that point, he just shut off the Zoom call. I asked him if he was okay, but he spent the rest of the afternoon in his room by himself. That night, he told me that he never wanted to talk to her again, ever. I told him that never is a long time, but that we weren't going to make him talk to her if he didn't want to. And we were never ever, ever going to give him back to her. He told me that never is a long time. We told him that in this case, it meant never. I'm still shocked. I don't know what happened to my sister. She was my best friend as a kid. She was almost my second mother. She was sweet and caring and nice. I just don't know how that all changed so fast. Or maybe it didn't change that fast, and I just never noticed it until it was too late, and I was driving 4 hours away at midnight to pick up 3 little kids, one of which I didn't even know existed before then. Before now, I honestly never considered myself as their parent, even after I legally adopted them. More like I was just taking care of them long term. But now I realize that those kids are my kids, and they're going to be my kids for the rest of my, and hopefully their lives. Thank you for all your help, guys. I hope you all have a fantastic life. That is the best outlook to have, and I wish you all an amazing life together. You keep knocking out of the park being their mother. I saw that coming as soon as she said my oldest midway through this post. I was like, oop, she said my. Consciously or not, she views them as hers now. Oh my lord, I just noticed. I didn't even realize I said that. Okay, I'm gonna cuddle my kiddos and cry now. I'll be back in a bit. Smiley face. I wondered if you noticed you said that. I'm super happy for you and the kids. Not everyone is so lucky to have someone save them from a bad situation. Wishing you all nothing but a bright, shining future together. Posted by user King Sigma. Titled, Would I be the a-hole for asking adults to pay for themselves at my daughter's birthday party? Time sensitive. My daughter was born in December. She has always been envious of kids who get to have summer beach/pool parties, and this year I decided that I was going to make her wish come true. I found a swim school with an indoor pool that hosts birthday parties. The package for up to 20 kids in the pool was $475, or so I thought. I added 6 pizzas to that, so we are at $535. Added cake, party favors, decorations, etc., and I'm looking at around $700 for this party. Yesterday, while I was setting up the specifics of the party with the coordinator, she mentioned, now 3 days before the party, that the 20 kids included in the pool actually applies to everyone in the pool, not just kids. She said that if any adult goes swimming at the party over that 20-person limit that I paid for, there will be a charge of $10 per person over the 20 people. We have 19 kids coming. I came in just under the 20 people. So now if 10 adults decide they're going to swim with their kids, that's $100 out of my pocket in addition to the $700 I am already spending. I didn't sign up for that. This party is for the kids. I don't mind paying if aunt, uncle, and grandparent of my daughter wants to swim, but I am expected to foot the bill for any random parent that decides they want to take a dip? I want to send out a notice to all the parents that responded to my evite with some party notes, like wear comfortable clothes, it will be 90 degrees in the pool area. Listed among those notes will be something like, the swim school has notified me that adults may swim with their children for an additional cost of $10 per guest. I'm not trying to sound cheap here, but am I the a-hole if I don't want to pay the extra for adults to swim at my daughter's birthday party? My family is divided. Some think I should suck it up and pay for whoever wants to swim. Some think the party is for the kids and adults are on their own. I should send a polite note. My dad says I should print out a sign and hang it on a wall somewhere that it says explains that they need to pay for themselves. I haven't sent out the note yet. I want to gauge the reaction I get before I do anything. Would I be the a-hole? Edit. Here is the note I'm thinking of sending. Hi all. Just a few notes regarding daughter's name's birthday party on this date. 1. The room housing the pool is kept at a temperature of 90 degrees. Dress appropriately so you won't be too warm. 2. Life vests, rafts, pool noodles, paddleboards, etc. are all provided. 3. There will be a lifeguard on staff during the entirety of the party. 4. The pool depth is 4 feet all the way around. 5. Children under 3 years old must be accompanied by an adult. And 6. The swim school has informed me that adults are welcome to swim as well for a charge of $10 per adult. You can pay at the front desk when you arrive if you choose to swim with your child. They will not allow more than 30 people in the pool at one time. If the kids were older, I think it would be reasonable to expect that none of the adults would be swimming. It's a kids' pool party after all. But since they're so young, some of the adults might only feel comfortable if they're with their child. What if you politely ask how many parents plan on swimming, because the pool needs to know ahead of time. If it's 3 parents, just pay it. If it's all 19, then you can reevaluate if you can afford it. I highly doubt more than half the parents plan on swimming. From my experience with kids' parties, I'd actually be surprised if all of the parents even stayed. I would say not the a-hole. The pool is the a-hole. This has to be an issue they've had in the past. Quoting you the price for just the kids without telling you about the adults is crappy of them. But why in the world would the pool only charge for how many kids are there? It just doesn't make sense. This is OP's oversight. Kids require more supervision than adults by law and national standards. It would honestly make perfect sense to me if someone implied to me that the cost was based on the number of children. I would just assume that they would know how many adults they should expect, and know that given a lower need for supervision, those adults would be covered by the available lifeguards. That being said, I have worked at a place that maintains a pool, and know a tiny bit about how those standards work. I think it sounds a bit asshole-ish, but you are the one hosting. Also, is it normal that parents join kids' parties? I remember when I was being younger, the parents would drop us at the party and come back later. Maybe add a rule the pool is for kids only. You're the a-hole, but a-hole is actually too strong a term here. Sending the note wouldn't be that bad, but it would, in my opinion, be a bad idea and in poor taste for a few reasons. 1. You already sent out an evite without strings attached. Sending a follow-up note attaching strings after people already responded is obnoxious and comes across as miserly. 2. You should have asked for more specifics about pricing when booking the pool. It seems odd to me that you just automatically assumed only children would count towards the total of 20 people using the pool. The mistake in not getting this information earlier was yours, so I think paying for the parents should therefore be your responsibility. 3. It is entirely possible that some parents may be irritated enough about the additional strings you're attaching after they've accepted the evite that they've changed their mind about attending, which would only end up hurting your daughter. You're doing an awesome thing for her here. Don't tarnish it over this. 4. If you do charge, you're likely going to have to end up chasing after at least a few people for the $10, which will make things more awkward, possibly strain your relationship with your kid's friends' parents, create resentment, and just plain turn into a headache that lingers for you far past the end of the party itself. I know adding a couple $100 more to an already high cost sucks, but if you can afford to throw a big party like this in the first place, I'm going to assume, forgive me if I'm assuming incorrectly, that your financial situation is such that you could afford the extra $200-ish without missing a mortgage payment or eating only plain rice and beans for a month or anything like that. So maybe just take it as a learning experience. Pony up the dough and take the time to carefully scrutinize charges, policies, etc. when planning any events in the future. Either way, I hope your kid has an awesome birthday party. This is exactly the type of advice one of my close friends would provide me. In fact, I heard this in his voice while reading this, so thank you. That was a very well thought out and rational response. Update. Would I be the a-hole for asking parents to pay for themselves at my daughter's birthday party? So, last week I was judged as the a-hole. I took the community's advice and did not send a note. I'm glad I followed that advice, because the party turned out fantastic. Only one adult went in the pool, and that was because his son was 3 years old. The pool did not charge me for that guy since his kid was 3. 2 kids who were siblings got sick and did not attend, so I was at 18 people in the pool, including the one adult. Most of the adults sat near the pool and chatted, some sat in the lobby, some dropped off their child and left. My wife and I received a lot of compliments from the adults and kids about the pool party, and also an invitation to another classmate's party next weekend. My sincere thanks for all the advice. I think I could have caused some unnecessary strain on the relationships with the other parents, and now it seems that we are in very good graces with all. Happy ending. All these updates are like really good stories in all honesty. I think I'm going to do a trend now where I do cover updates in an entire episode, and then the normal posts are going to be in other episodes. And you'll be able to spot them as you're going through them. Some are going to be more story posts, some are going to be more, hey, what do you guys think in the comments? Tell me, are they the a-hole or not? So yeah, I'm keen for that. But in regards to this story, you know, it was a bit of an a-hole move, but Reddit really helped them realize that what the right choice in this situation was, and I think they made the right choice. I think it was bad of them, they were just misguided, they didn't know what they were doing. But hey, it worked out in the end, and I'm glad that it did. Now it's time to hand you to outro Marky. Alright guys, that's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to tell me what you thought about it down in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel also, don't forget to subscribe. It would really help out with my channel growth. And also, a huge shout out to my channel patrons and members. I just love you guys and thank you for supporting me on this journey. If you guys are new to the channel and you'd like to support me, links are down below for the Patreon, or you can click the join button next to subscribe if you'd like to become a channel member. Alright guys, that's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.